Chapter 576. Was this the underworld crow ghost Ratan? Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed the small section of the underworld crow ghost Ratan. He had obtained it when he, Xiao Bixing and Mu Ziming had chased after Jiashir San. Initially, they had been trapped in the blue hole by the underworld crow ghost Ratan King for decades. Later, his flame leveled up and destroyed the underworld crow ghost Ratan King. Then, he obtained a lump of wood essence and a small section of the gray underworld crow ghost Ratan branch. A strong wood-attributed aura filled Ning Cheng's senses. Ning Cheng immediately gave up on the idea of using the treasured thunder spear to blast open a path. For a powerhouse, it was possible to blast open the viscous space in front of him with a weapon and reach the 70th floor. However, Ning Cheng did not want to do so. He had a feeling that he could use a simpler method to pass the 69th floor. If he did not have the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method, he would not be able to condense a spiritual consciousness shield and a spiritual consciousness blade light. At that point, it would be impossible for him to go up again. Ning Cheng felt as if he was sitting on a boundless prairie, completely surrounded by dense grass. These grasses completely blocked his way forward and retreat, causing him to be unable to breathe. It also felt like he was in the heart of a tree. As the tree continued to grow, the heart of the tree would eventually grow fully, leaving no room for him to survive. Mysterious yellow formless and shapeless, born from the heart. As long as one could comprehend it, success would follow naturally. Was this a primal chaos cultivation method? Ning Cheng felt a huge sense of happiness, which made him feel invincible. From the looks of it, once he got out, he could study the body-forging cultivation method in the starry skies, and then try out the formless cultivation method. In just half a day, Ning Cheng rushed past the 66th floor and entered the 67th floor. As long as it did not help him in comprehending his cultivation, he would never waste time on this floor. If he stayed, then this level would definitely be helpful to his cultivation, or perhaps it would be helpful to his comprehension. The small section of the underworld crow ghost Ratan branch in Ning Cheng's hand quickly grew and quickly spread out, stretching out one after another. Ning Cheng sat down, and the viscous space around him constantly squeezed him, as if wanting to melt him in this viscous space. At this moment, Ning Cheng's celestial river domain not only resisted the surrounding viscous pressure but also penetrated into the thick wood-attributed pressure. He couldn't condense his spiritual sense to attack because his spiritual sense was invisible. He couldn't condense this invisible thing into a tangible one. The wildfire will never be able to extinguish it, and it will grow again with the spring breeze. When Ning Cheng pushed open the door to the 69th floor, he unexpectedly found that there were no attacks coming from this floor. When he stepped in, it was as if he had stepped into a hard rock. The entire space was solidified and sticky. Ning Cheng didn't know if these guys had a spiritual consciousness cultivation method or not. Regardless of whether they had such a spiritual consciousness cultivation method or not, he had to be careful when he encountered these guys in the future. Ning Cheng did not stop at the 65th floor. As he walked towards the 66th floor, he couldn't help but marvel at the vast universe. Sure enough, powerhouses were as common as clouds in the sky. Divine sense attacks were invisible and formless, so why did he care about this formless thing? Let's just pretend that it's tangible. The scenes on the returning to one leather scroll also constantly flashed in Ning Cheng's mind. His cheap master Bai Qi had once said that all living things came from the same source, and all living things came from the same source. After the flames burned it down, new weeds would quickly grow out. However, it would take time for the ashes to turn into new weeds. During this period of time, he could easily rush out of the 69th floor and enter the 70th floor. After another day, Ning Cheng could not only condense an invisible spiritual consciousness shield, but he could also condense spiritual consciousness thorns and spiritual consciousness blades with just a thought. Ning Cheng stepped onto the 65th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower and found that the spiritual consciousness attacks here were much more powerful compared to the 64th floor. The attacks within his sea of consciousness also came in waves. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He felt sure that if he had not comprehended spiritual consciousness attacks and spiritual consciousness defenses, he might not have been able to hold on against such powerful spiritual consciousness attacks, coupled with the visible blade lights and demonic beasts outside. Starting from the 64th floor to the 68th floor, the only difference was that the various attacks and the pushing force were getting stronger and stronger. However, these things did not pose a problem to Ning Cheng. His strength was already much stronger compared to ordinary celestial gatherer cultivators. As Ning Cheng thought about it, he pushed open the door to the 66th floor. On the 66th floor, apart from the spiritual consciousness attacks, there were also a few grade 4 starry sky demonic beasts. Celestial Scryer Tower, I really love you to death. Ning Cheng almost wanted to rush over to the tower's door and kiss this celestial scryer tower. He did not know how many times he had tried to condense his own spiritual consciousness to attack, but he had never succeeded. This time, he had inadvertently entered the 9x9 celestial scryer tower and suffered the torture of spiritual consciousness attacks before finally succeeding. Ning Cheng had just grasped the Underworld Crow Ghost Rattan's branch in his hand when the Underworld Crow Ghost Rattan's branch jumped up in his hand. At the same time, the Underworld Crow Ghost Rattan's branch absorbed the seemingly endless wood-attributed aura. He absolutely could not allow this scourge to grow again. Ning Cheng had personally witnessed the fearsomeness of this thing. The green-robed girl seemed to have seen through the young Miss's thoughts, and quickly spoke up, "Young Miss, I think that this wanderer meets the requirements of the young master. Do you think the guild master will invite him back when he finds out about this?" Since everything came from the same source, and celestial essence could condense into fireballs, blade lights, and even various spirit techniques, why not treat his spiritual consciousness as a tangible form of celestial essence? Ning Cheng had just formed this thought, when his mysterious yellow formless once again completed a new circulation. It was a cultivation method. No, it was a spirit technique or a magical skill. It was just like when he thought of celestial wheels, the mysterious yellow formless immediately simulated celestial wheels. At this moment, a small round shield formed in his sea of consciousness. However, now that he understood spiritual consciousness defense and spiritual consciousness attack, he could condense one spiritual consciousness shield after another and spiritual consciousness blade lights with just a thought. As such, this kind of attack would not cause much harm to him. I think he would stay here for at least 8 or 9 days, right? Do you want to bet on it? I think he would stay for at most 3 days before entering the 66th floor, or at least teleporting out. Unfortunately, he could not verify the power of his spiritual consciousness blade lights at this time. In this place, he could only use the spiritual consciousness blade lights he condensed to fight against the spiritual consciousness attacks coming from the celestial scryer tower. However, that Xiao Yu unexpectedly climbed to the 71st floor. Not to mention Xiao Yu, even that fellow named Zhu Guang had reached the 70th floor. In addition to that, the third-ranked Ao Hashan climbed to the 69th floor, while the fourth-ranked Qi Diao Xian climbed to the 68th floor. At this moment, a small gray-black branch in his ring exuded a wood-attributed aura. Ning Cheng suddenly opened his eyes. He was so excited that he was trembling. After being tortured by this spiritual consciousness attack for 7 days, he finally condensed a small shield with his spiritual consciousness. It was this spiritual consciousness shield that managed to block a spiritual consciousness thorn. At this time, even the sect masters of some starry sky sects felt alarmed. Although they did not come in person, they sent people to inquire about the identity of this genius who had appeared out of nowhere. No, this underworld crow ghost Rattan King wanted to regenerate its vitality? Ning Cheng thought back to how he had been trapped by the underworld crow ghost Rattan King for decades. How could he be willing to let the underworld crow ghost Rattan King regenerate its vitality? The next moment, he brought out his celestial river flame. He wanted to burn this underworld crow ghost Rattan King to a crisp. The treasured thunder spear turned into a spear shadow and shot out. This spear shadow blasted apart the surrounding viscous space, allowing Ning Cheng's foot to finally land on the ground. But a moment later, the surrounding space turned viscous again, as if it wanted to squeeze him into this space. Well, that's right. I've taken a fancy to him. I'm going to send a message to my father now. He and I are fated. The young lady in the light blue robe didn't know what it meant to be reserved. As she spoke, she took out her communication pearl. That wanderer entered the 65th floor. I didn't expect him to stay on the 64th floor for almost 9 days before entering the 65th floor. Strong. At this moment, a thought suddenly rose in his mind. It felt as if as long as he brought out his celestial river flame, this endless grass would turn to ashes. Then, the space in front of him turned empty, without the weeds blocking his way. Ning Cheng stood up. He knew that staying on this floor would no longer make any sense. He had already achieved his purpose. With the success of the first attempt, Ning Cheng once again condensed an invisible spiritual consciousness shield. Ning Cheng condensed one spiritual consciousness shield after another. In the beginning, these spiritual consciousness shields and spiritual consciousness thorns collided and shattered at the same time. But as Ning Cheng condensed more and more spiritual consciousness shields, the spiritual consciousness shield managed to block the spiritual consciousness thorns and even the spiritual consciousness blades. The spiritual consciousness shield remained intact. Boom! Ning Cheng did not have time to rejoice when a spiritual consciousness thorn within his sea of consciousness slammed into the small invisible shield, causing it to tremble. The spiritual consciousness thorn shattered, and at the same time, the invisible shield also turned into nothingness. How long do you think he will stay on the 65th floor? Ning Cheng brought out the treasured thunder spear and swept it all the way. Even if he encountered a grade 4 starry sky demonic beast, it would turn to ashes under the maximal flame spiritual technique. As for the dusk spiritual technique, Ning Cheng had never used it since entering the celestial scryer tower. However, just as this thought rose in Ning Cheng's heart, he quickly suppressed it. This was not his original intention. If he wanted to destroy it, then he should destroy it completely. To cut the weeds, he had to remove the roots. If he did not destroy it, then he would be his friend. The female cultivator standing next to the green-robed girl felt so excited that her eyes turned red. She really did not read it wrong. Whether she was the first person to discover Jiangzhou's wanderer or not, she was definitely one of the first people to discover him. What was fate? Was this not fate? Cultivators who could set foot on the 65th floor definitely had a tough bone to pick. The grass on the plains withered and flourished every year. Although his spiritual consciousness shield and the attacking spiritual consciousness thorn shattered at the same time, it was at least a start. Little miss, you really have a good eye. You were the first person to discover this Jiangzhou's wanderer, and now this fellow actually set foot on the 65th floor. It's just too terrifying. The green-robed girl, who had talked about Ning Cheng before, on seeing Ning Cheng enter the 65th floor, exclaimed once again. Since discovering that Ning Cheng had entered the 50th floor, they, like the other cultivators, had not left the public square. Although more and more people came to the public square, because Ning Cheng had stayed on the 64th floor for too long, the public square felt a little dull. Now that Ning Cheng set foot on the 65th floor, the public square once again turned lively. Bets, discussions, envy, worship. Chapter 577. Should he rush in and quickly pass through this floor, or stay here to see if the celestial river flame could advance? Oh, it's nothing, just a little surprised. Junior apprentice Sister Cheong quickly explained. Only she knew in her heart that it was not a surprise, but a horror. I understand, it's the 70th floor. The 70th floor of the celestial scryer tower is filled with fire spirit sources. That wanderer entered the 70th floor, but how did he cause such a big commotion? A cultivator on the public square exclaimed. What happened? The cultivators standing on the public square stared at the celestial scryer tower in shock. The celestial scryer tower had stood on the culmination public square for many years without any changes. However, the cultivators on the public square suddenly saw a faint flame erupt from the celestial scryer tower. The conversation between the two cultivators next to Zish Jun made him even more frightened. He did not know the cultivator who invited Ning Cheng to come with him. However, he recognized the robes worn by that cultivator. It was from the god-sacrificing sect. The cultivators from the god-sacrificing sect could seize bodies as easily as breathing. Many cultivators with excellent qualifications, after entering the god-sacrificing sect, would end up being seized by the powerhouses. The threat of death came over, causing Ning Cheng's mind to tremble. For the first time, Ning Cheng felt fear. He had a feeling that his maximal flame spiritual technique had stirred up trouble. Using the maximal flame spiritual technique in this place, although its power was unstoppable, he could not stop it. He could not control this terrifying maximal flame spiritual technique. With this kind of whirlpool-like flame, even if Ning Cheng's body was twice as strong, it would still turn to ashes. No, he didn't die. That wanderer didn't die. He actually entered the 71st floor. Heavens, he's going to become the strongest person in the Celestial Scryer Tower. If Tsang Wei had just taught him the maximal flame spiritual technique, he could only use it to absorb the surrounding fire attributes and create false spatial collapses. Now he could create some real collapses. Is it going to recognize me as its master? Ning Cheng subconsciously spoke up. The underworld crow ghost Ratan, on seeing him bring out the celestial river flame, immediately wanted to recognize him as its master. Sure enough, it really is a sentient thing. Ning Cheng showed a smile and felt in a good mood. Although there were many people in the plaza who were jealous of the wanderer from Jiangzhou, there were even more people who felt that it was a pity. Such a powerhouse, if not for the Celestial Scryer Tower's flames burning him to death, he would have definitely achieved great things in the future. Ning Cheng felt horrified in his heart. His celestial river flame could not block the flames from the Celestial Scryer Tower. In Ning Cheng's opinion, his celestial river flame had already been upgraded to the peak. Yet, it still couldn't block the flames in this place. From this, it showed just how terrifying the flames in this place were. Raising his hand and throwing the underworld crow ghost Ratan into the miniature world ring, Ning Cheng walked up to the 70th floor as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. Unfortunately, he did not know that Ning Cheng was able to reach the 69th floor, and was even ranked third. If he knew that Ning Cheng had this kind of ability, he would have definitely told Ning Cheng not to climb so high. You're just an itinerant cultivator with no backing and no one to rely on. Aren't you courting death by climbing so high? Even if he wanted to climb, he had to find someone to rely on first. Boom boom. The moment Ning Cheng disappeared, the place where he stood completely turned into a void collapse. The terrifying flames even burned away the void collapse. This wasn't a fake void collapse formed by the maximal flame divine technique, but a real void collapse. Jiang Prefecture's wanderer actually climbed to the 69th floor. Now, he is only second to Luo Fan Starry Sky's Zhu Guang. At this rate, maybe he can climb to the first place. Who the hell is this guy? It's like it appeared out of thin air. Fortunately, Ning Cheng had entered the mysterious yellow bead. Otherwise, in this kind of place, even if Ning Cheng's body forging technique was powerful, he would have already been burnt to ashes by this maximal fire. Ning Cheng stood up. He had stayed on the 69th floor for a full 6 days. The growth of the underworld crow ghost Ratan had slowed down, showing that the effect of the wood attribute spiritual source on the underworld crow ghost Ratan was limited. If he wanted his underworld crow ghost Ratan to regain its king's demeanor, he would have to find a richer wood spiritual source. By the time Zish Jun rushed to the Culmination Plaza anxiously, the Culmination Plaza was already overcrowded with people. Unfortunately, no matter how anxious he was, there was nothing he could do. He had caused such a mess, but he could not control it. If not for the fact that her eyes were glued to the ranking array's display screen, she would have thought that she was hallucinating. In fact, she knew that she was not mistaken. When Wanderer's flame erupted, the time behind him had stopped beating. After the flame disappeared, the time behind him continued to beat, and Wanderer entered the 71st floor. After pushing open the door to the 70th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, the sky filled with flames rushed towards Ning Cheng. It felt as if Ning Cheng had fallen into a pit of fire. The underworld crow ghost Ratan could not only help against enemies, but it could also stabilize the collapsed void and condense the essence of wood. The wood attribute spiritual source on this floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower was extremely rich. Ning Cheng sat down and waited for the underworld crow ghost Ratan to absorb the wood attribute spiritual source. Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed the spiritual aura. He then engraved a spiritual consciousness mark on it and sent it into his sea of consciousness. The next moment, everything about the underworld crow ghost Ratan was exposed to Ning Cheng's thoughts. Ning Cheng could even turn the underworld crow ghost Ratan into ashes with just a thought. What a stroke of luck, Ning Cheng thought as he looked at the underworld crow ghost Ratan crazily absorbing the wood attribute spiritual source. He knew that as long as he could help this underworld crow ghost Ratan find enough wood attribute spiritual source, he would have another means in the future. While the others looked at the flames erupting from the celestial scryer tower, she still kept looking at the names on the ranking array formation display. The reason why she felt shocked was that the time behind Wanderer on the ranking list had stopped beating. In other words, when the celestial scryer tower's flames erupted, Wanderer had already fallen. Junior apprentice Sister Cheong? What's wrong? The one who spoke was the female cultivator next to the girl. She felt a little puzzled as to why this junior apprentice sister, who had always been quiet, suddenly became so shocked today. Sure enough, after Ning Cheng spoke those words, the underworld crow ghost Ratan jumped even more fiercely. At the same time, a faintly discernible spiritual aura floated up. As the underworld crow ghost Ratan King absorbed the dense wood-attributed aura, Ning Cheng's surroundings instantly emptied out. He could no longer feel the wood-attributed viscous aura in the surrounding space. It felt as if he was in an empty house. Moreover, this house was filled with wood-attributed vitality and freshness, filling him with a comfortable feeling. The underworld crow ghost Ratan in his hand continued to crazily absorb the wood-attributed aura from the tower. At the same time, the underworld crow ghost Ratan also grew at a crazy pace. The main Ratan grew to the thickness of a water bottle and several feet long, while two thin vines grew around the main Ratan. From the information provided by the underworld crow ghost Ratan, Ning Cheng understood that as long as there was enough wood-attributed spiritual source, the underworld crow ghost Ratan could grow more thin vines. The public square's discussion about Wanderer dying on the 70th floor did not last long before it turned into shock. That's because the words 71st floor appeared behind Wanderer's name. A girl with a veil covering her face suddenly covered her mouth and screamed out in disbelief. Ning Cheng did not retreat. He could bring out the everlasting blue Thunder City to block these flames, or he could use the treasured Thunder Spear to create a profound ice spear net. The moment Ning Cheng brought out the maximal flame spiritual technique, the surrounding flames seemed to have gone crazy, forming a terrifying vortex. This vortex swept up the terrifying flames of the entire tower and swept towards Ning Cheng's position. At this moment, the entire space seemed to have been burned into nothingness by this flame, while the celestial river flame shield disappeared without a trace like an eggshell. At the same time, it also showed that his celestial river flame had not yet reached its peak. For ordinary cultivators, in the face of such a powerful flame, the only way out was to retreat to the door and teleport out. Otherwise, in the face of this flame, one could only turn to ashes. Although few cultivators died in the celestial scryer tower, it did not mean that no cultivators died. Fortunately, the celestial river flame was his own. Even if the flames outside burned it to the point of sizzling and thinning it out, Ning Cheng could still stimulate his flames to supplement it. No matter who it is, our sect master will definitely invite him over. It's over, Zish Jun felt anxious looking at the rankings. Others might not know who Wanderer was, but he knew. Ning Cheng, and he came from the striking order Starry Skies, and he had personally witnessed Ning Cheng's power. Even Lu Pingchuan, who was a powerful existence, could only use 2 spears in Ning Cheng's hands. This kind of terrifying flame can even be seen from the outside. It would be strange if someone could survive inside the celestial scryer tower. Back then, he had been locked up by the underworld crow ghost Ratan King for decades. It was impossible to say that he did not hate it. Now that the underworld crow ghost Ratan King had recovered its life thanks to the wood's spiritual source in the celestial scryer tower, it even recognized him as its master. Now that it had become a Ratan under his control, how could he not be in a good mood? He really rushed into the 71st floor. What a terrifying powerhouse. The moment he brought out the celestial river flame, Ning Cheng felt the underworld crow ghost Ratan King in his hand tremble, and a flattering message appeared in his mind. Inside the celestial scryer tower, only when a cultivator died or was sent out would the time behind the cultivators on the ranking list stop. However, the fact was that no cultivator had been sent out, which meant that Wanderer had definitely died. However, she found that after the time stopped for a few breaths, it started to beat again. After subduing the underworld crow ghost Rotan King, Ning Cheng realized that this floor of the celestial scryer tower had a completely wood-attributed aura. The reason why the underworld crow ghost Rotan King could regenerate was because of the wood-attributed aura in this place. However, Ning Cheng did not use any of these methods. Instead, he brought out the celestial river flame. The purple celestial river flame formed an oval-shaped flame shield around his body. The celestial scryer tower's flames instantly clashed with the celestial river flame, causing the celestial river flame to give off a sizzling sound. Even within his flame shield, Ning Cheng could feel the intense heat. His robes once again disappeared, and bursts of burnt smell started to spread out from his body. Ning Cheng quickly made a choice. The celestial river flame could not advance in the face of such horrifying flames. However, he could try out the maximal flame spiritual technique. The maximal flame spiritual technique not only used the celestial river flame, but it could also absorb the surrounding fire-attributed energy to create a false spatial collapse. What would happen if he used the maximal flame spiritual technique in this situation? Boom, boom, boom. When the horrifying flame vortex swept towards him, Ning Cheng did not even think about it before entering the mysterious yellow bead. On the 9x9 celestial scryer tower's ranking display, the words Jiangzhou's Wanderer looked extremely glaring. Jiangzhou's Wanderer now ranked third, pushing down the genius female cultivator Ao Hashan from the 69th floor, only second to Xiao Yu, who had previously reached the 71st floor, and Zhu Guang, who had reached the 70th floor. Chapter 578. As soon as Ning Cheng pushed open the door to the 71st floor, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He knew that the celestial scryer tower's first ranker was Xiao Yu, and that Xiao Yu was only on the 71st floor. Now that he had unknowingly ascended to the 71st floor, wouldn't he be the center of attention? If he didn't have any secrets, it wouldn't matter if he was the center of attention. He could even find a good backer. But now he was full of secrets. If he was discovered by an expert, it would be strange if he wasn't investigated thoroughly. Now, even if he wanted to retreat, he didn't have the chance. Moreover, he didn't want to retreat. Moreover, after entering the celestial scryer tower, he not only improved his spear techniques and spirit techniques, but also improved his celestial river domain. Moreover, Ning Cheng had also comprehended the spiritual consciousness defense and spiritual consciousness attack techniques. Even the underworld crow ghost Rotan had recognized him as its master and helped him greatly. He had only reached the 71st floor. If he reached the 81st floor, how much would his harvest be? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng once again took a step forward. The boundless water chi aura instantly rushed towards Ning Cheng. Just like the wood-attributed aura on the 69th floor, this shadowless and invisible water chi aura made people feel suffocated. Not to mention breathing, even celestial essence would be suppressed by this water. However, this was just an invisible water aura. Along with this water aura, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate this seemingly endless wall of water even with his starry sky sea of consciousness. Water gives people the impression that it is soft, but water is a real hard thing. You can press a piece of iron into a thin sheet, but you can't press a mass of water into something smaller. At this moment, the water wall on the 71st floor was being compressed, as if it was about to squeeze the water on this floor into a small ball. If Ning Cheng did not rush out of this mass of water as soon as possible, then he would definitely be crushed into nothingness. Ning Cheng's celestial river domain stretched out, and the water walls squeezing him loosened a bit. Although the effects of the celestial river domain were greatly reduced under the suppression of this water wall, it still helped Ning Cheng a lot. The moment the water wall's suppression loosened a little, Ning Cheng's treasured thunder spear shot out. The traceless sacred art was shadowless and traceless, but it was able to create a small crack in the suppressive water mass. As long as it was just a small gap, it would be enough for Ning Cheng. In an instant, he rushed past the 71st floor and arrived at the entrance of the 72nd floor. Ning Cheng was not in a hurry to push open the door to the 72nd floor of the tower. He stood in front of the door with some doubts. Logically speaking, the 71st floor was only slightly harder than the 70th floor. Since Xiao Yu could pass through the 70th floor, why couldn't he pass through the 71st floor? Ning Cheng thought for a long time but could not figure out the answer to this question. As such, he simply pushed open the door to the 72nd floor. The 72nd floor was filled with attacks from various magic treasures and saber lights. These attacks were mixed with the pushing force and were several times stronger than the previous attacks. Ning Cheng was the least afraid of this kind of attack. After arriving at this place, Ning Cheng finally understood the significance of these few layers. From wood to fire, then to water, and then to this kind of metal blade attack. The next level would probably be earth attribute attacks. Metal, wood, water, fire and earth. Any other cultivator would have a hard time passing all of them. He had a complete set of primary spiritual roots. Although he had not tested the attributes of his spiritual roots, Ning Cheng guessed that he had metal, wood, water, fire and earth spiritual roots. 72 ND floor, Jiangzhou's wanderer surpassed spiritual heaven sex Xiao Yu and rushed to the top of the celestial scryer tower. I don't know how many years the celestial scryer tower has stood for, but this time someone actually rushed to the 72nd floor. Not to say that there would be no one in the future, but I'm afraid that this is unprecedented, right? It's unprecedented, isn't it? I heard that there was a senior named Guiya who rushed to the 76th floor. Then why is his name not on the ranking list? Are you stupid? Unless one can rush to the 81st floor, one's name will be recorded in the ranking list forever. If one cannot reach the 81st floor, once this cultivator enters the Celestial River realm, his name will immediately drop from the Celestial Scryer Tower's ranking list. The discussions in the culmination public square were mixed with arguments. No matter how they argued, everyone felt nothing but worship for Jiangzhou's wanderer, who was ranked first. Look, wanderer rushed to the 73rd floor. He passed it again, the 74th floor. At this time, even Zish Jun, who was worried about Ning Cheng, completely forgot to worry about Ning Cheng. Just like the other cultivators, he stared at the 74th floor behind Jiangzhou's wanderer's name with his mouth wide open in shock. Every floor within the Celestial Scryer Tower was extremely difficult, not to mention rushing to the 74th floor. The 73rd floor contained various earth-attributed attacks, the 74th floor contained icebergs and snowy seas, the 75th floor contained hurricanes, and the 76th floor contained crazy thunder attacks. Ning Cheng stopped at the 76th floor. His thunder tribulation only lasted for a short period of time, and he was a cultivator who could absorb thunder-attributed spiritual sources to absorb. This floor contained all kinds of thunder attacks. For him, not only could he absorb the thunder source for cultivation, but he could also comprehend the thunder source attacks. Unfortunately, he was not very familiar with the attributes of ice and wind. Otherwise, he would have stayed on the 74th floor's icebergs and snowy seas and the 75th floor's hurricanes for some time. Lightning arcs fell on Ning Cheng's body, while thunderballs smashed into Ning Cheng's domain one after another. Under the violent lightning arcs attacks, Ning Cheng absorbed the thunder spiritual source for cultivation while trying to find the pattern of the thunder source's attacks. Thousands of miles away from the eternal heaven Starry Sky City, there was a starry sky city surrounded by a powerful defensive array formation. To be precise, it was not a starry sky city, but a starry sky corner city. Outside this starry sky corner city, there were a few huge floating characters, Yu Clan's corner. Starry sky corner cities were very common in any grand starland. Generally, big families, sects, and some other forces would establish their own corner cities. These corner cities were much simpler than starry sky cities and were a gathering place for a single force. Yu Clan's corner city was the lair of Culmination Yu Clan. Although Yu Clan was not a big family in Grand Culmination Starry Sky, it was also not a small family. At this time, in the most luxurious mansion in Yu Clan's corner city, A middle-aged male cultivator in the heaven-seated realm and a female cultivator in the heavens mandate realm accompanied a young and handsome man in the living room. However, this young man, accompanied by two powerhouses, only had a celestial gatherer cultivation. No one knew what they had said, but the young and handsome man frowned slightly. "Young master, you, please have some tea. Cece will be back soon." Ch has been with Cece for a long time. Now that Cece is back, Ching will definitely come back soon. The middle-aged man picked up the teacup and spoke. Although he was a heaven-seated cultivator, facing a celestial gatherer realm cultivator, he still had to smile. The handsome man showed a slight smile. "When I first met Ching said that the Tao companion she wanted to find in the Celestial Scryer Tower must rank first in the Celestial Scryer realm, and in the Celestial River realm he must rank first in the Celestial River Tower." What Ching said was right. If one did not rank first in the Celestial Scryer realm, how could he be worthy of Ching? It's just that Ching had already gone to Striking Order Starry Sky, and I, Xiao Yu, had no choice but to take the first place in the Celestial Scryer Tower to wait for her. A few days ago, I met with Heavenly Emperor Striking Order and learned that the Striking Order Starland's ships had already arrived at Grand Culmination Starry Sky. I should have come here a long time ago, but because of some trivial matters in the sect, I was delayed for a few days. I just came here to see Ching and tell Ching that I did not let her down. The middle-aged man showed an awkward smile and was just about to speak when two people hurried into the living room. A man and a woman came in. The man had silver hair and overflowed with a powerful aura. Apparently, he was a heaven-seated powerhouse. Beside the silver-haired man was an extremely young girl. The girl's eyes were filled with anxiety and exhaustion. "Elder brother Su, Cece, you're back? Where's Ching?" Seeing the two people come in, the middle-aged man immediately stood up and asked. The handsome man called Xiao Yu also stood up and stared at the two people who came in. Apparently, he also cared about where Ching went. "After Sister Ching sent me back, she immediately returned to Striking Order Starland. I tried to persuade her, but she wouldn't budge." The girl called Cece spoke with a hint of tears. "What?" The middle-aged man spoke in disbelief. "Didn't the Time Wilderness open? Why would she go to a small place like Striking Order Starry Sky?" Cece glanced at Xiao Yu but did not answer. Only she knew what Sister Ching wanted to do in Striking Order Starland. She wanted to wait for the second opening of the Time Wilderness in Striking Order Starland before going in to find that cultivator called Wanderer. The only reason why Sister Ching wanted to return to Grand Culmination Starry Sky was to deliver the Time Stones. But didn't Ching say that she would accompany me to Culmination Public Square when she came back? That's because I said that the next time she came back, my name would appear at the top of the Celestial Scryer Tower's ranking list. Why would she go to Striking Order Starry Sky now? Xiao Yu's tone turned a little unhappy. His pursuit of Yu Qing was something that the entire Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City knew about. Everyone thought that he and Yu Qing were a match made in heaven. Yu Qing had the most beautiful appearance in the entire Starry Sky. He was the most talented cultivator in the entire Starry Sky. Only such a combination would make a perfect match. Why would Yu Qing leave Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City at such a critical juncture and return to a small place like Striking Order Starry Sky? Thinking of this, Xiao Yu's expression turned a little ugly. Yu Qing was indeed the most beautiful, but as a genius from the Starry Sky sect's Spiritual Heaven sect, wasn't this too much? "Senior apprentice brother Yu, I heard. The girl called Cece saw Xiao Yu's expression and whispered with some worry. However, she did not dare to speak a single word for a long time. Xiao Yu took in a deep breath and nodded to Cece before speaking with a slow voice. "Junior apprentice Sister Cece, what did you hear? Just tell me. No matter what, I will make a trip to Striking Order Starry Sky." Cece gave out an N sound. "Senior apprentice brother Yu, I heard that someone from the Celestial Scryer Tower has reached the 69th floor. I also heard that this person has a chance to rush to the 72nd floor." Xiao Yu's expression immediately changed. He knew that the Celestial Scryer Tower had produced a heaven-defying cultivator. When he came here, He had heard that this fellow had already reached the 61st floor. However, he did not take it to heart. If this fellow wanted to surpass his 71st floor, then he could forget about it. Now that Cici said that this person had reached the 69th floor, it meant that this person clearly had the ability to challenge the top. Thinking of this, Xiao Yu could no longer stay. He gave a casual greeting and quickly rushed out. Chapter 579. When Xiao Yu arrived at the culmination public square, Ning Cheng had just set foot on the 77th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Ning Cheng stayed on the 76th floor for a few days, but apart from some simple lightning arcs, he did not manage to comprehend any real thunder-attributed spirit techniques. This caused Ning Cheng to stop staying on the 76th floor. The mysterious yellow formless was indeed powerful, but even if it was powerful, it still had to have a source. Only with a form could one be formless. Right now, he couldn't even touch the form of a lightning attack, so how could he be formless? Xiao Yu stared blankly at the 77th floor behind Jiang District's Wanderer. His heart was burning like a ball of fire. He was sure that he wouldn't be able to reach the 77th floor. That's right, the 71st floor wasn't his limit. The reason why he didn't go up to the 72nd floor was because he wanted to stay behind and slap others in the face. This time, Grand Culmination Starry Skies had gathered countless celestial scryer geniuses. Maybe some of them would be able to rush to the 72nd floor. At this time, he would not hesitate to enter the Celestial Scryer Tower again and step on the cultivator who rushed to the 72nd floor. He wanted to let everyone know that he still had strength to spare. He wanted to give the impression that even if someone rushed to the 80th level, he would be able to reach the 81st level. However, even Xiao Yu couldn't guarantee that he could break through the 74th floor. He could at most open the 74th floor, but he wouldn't be able to pass through it. However, someone had managed to reach the 77th level today. It was obvious that this wanderer was more powerful than him. Xiao Yu clenched his fists. The premier genius of Grand Culmination Starry Skies was him, Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu, even dared to erase his own cultivation, returning from the Celestial Bridge realm to the Celestial Gatherer realm. Who else would dare to do such a thing? Since he could reach the top of the Celestial Scryer Tower, and then erase his cultivation, it looked like a unique existence. Only a unique genius like him would dare to do this. Now, his ranking in the Celestial Scryer Tower had fallen to the second place, while his first place had disappeared. He erased his own cultivation and forcefully reduced it to the Star Condensation realm, no longer acting in a proud and supremely confident manner. What truly attracted people's attention was always the number one. As soon as Ning Cheng entered the 77th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, he found himself surrounded by messy spatial blade lights. The space blade aura was different from ordinary space blade aura. It was invisible and could be created out of thin air. Under this kind of spatial blade light, if one was careless, they would be split into two halves. Getting injured was an incomparably simple matter. Ning Cheng passed through the void and even passed through positional planes. Although he was enveloped by the heaven-opening child talisman when he passed through planes, it did not affect his understanding of the void. Under Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness, these spatial blade lights basically had nowhere to hide. Some of the blade lights that even Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could not catch could also be sensed by him. Even if he couldn't avoid it completely, he could at least avoid the vital parts. In just half a day, Ning Cheng rushed past the 77th floor and pushed open the door to the 78th floor. After pushing open the door to the 78th floor, Ning Cheng first faced a spatial collapse. Although this place was inside the Celestial Scryer Tower, Ning Cheng did not dare to step into this spatial collapse. Once he entered, who knew where he would land? It was only at this moment that Ning Cheng could deeply feel the power of his Starry Skies Sea of Consciousness. Without the Starry Sky Sea of Consciousness and the Celestial River Domain, Ning Cheng would not have been able to persist for a long time amidst the dense spatial collapses filled with spatial blade lights. His powerful spiritual consciousness attached to the Celestial River Domain clearly told Ning Cheng about the dangers and spatial collapses. This was a place where other people could easily lose their lives, but Ning Cheng easily passed through it. He entered the 79th floor. Heavens, this person isn't going to rush to the 81st floor, is he? When Ning Cheng rushed to the 79th floor, the cultivators on the public square no longer looked at which floor Ning Cheng had reached. Instead, they started to wonder if this cultivator could rush to the 81st floor. This person is too powerful. He even rushed to the 79th floor. If the association master saw it, "Hey, little miss, why are you so downcast? That person is about to rush to the 81st floor." The green-robed woman standing next to the Celestial Scryer Tower's ranking screen felt happy when she found that her little miss did not look happy. The female cultivator in the light blue robe lowered her head and spoke in a low voice. "If he had only rushed to the top 100, I would have had some hope. If he had rushed to the top 10, then my hope would have been much smaller. But now I have no hope. What is there to be happy about?" The green-robed girl quickly spoke up. "Little miss, even if he reached the 81st floor, as long as we find him first, we would still have some hope. Looking at this person's name and Jiangzhou star, we know that this person is definitely a rogue cultivator. This kind of rogue cultivator has never seen the world as long as we treat him well. Look around." The female cultivator, addressed as Little Miss, spoke up in an angry tone. The green-robed woman looked back and looked around before muttering to herself, "When did so many powerhouses come here?" After Ning Cheng opened the tower's entrance to the 79th floor, he was surprised to find that the inside looked like a chaotic land. There were no walls, no roads, no directions, and no attacks. Ning Cheng looked back and found that even the tower's entrance had disappeared. What kind of floor was this? Ning Cheng took a few steps forward, but it felt like he was walking on cotton. He reached out and touched the bottom, but could not feel anything. Even when he stretched out his spiritual consciousness, he still could not see anything. What's going on? Ning Cheng felt somewhat baffled. Didn't entering the Celestial Scryer Tower mean comprehending one's own Tao laws and spirit techniques, and then rushing through the Celestial Scryer Tower at the same time? Why was there nothing here? Wait, Ning Cheng's mind suddenly caught the words rushing through the Celestial Scryer Tower. No matter what floor this was, no matter what this floor contained, wouldn't he just have to pass through this floor? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng's spirit shook, and a few spiritual consciousness blade lights shot out. Since his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate, then he would use his spiritual consciousness to attack. If his spiritual consciousness attack did not work, then he would try using his spirit techniques. The moment the spiritual consciousness blade lights shot out, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness sensed a vague void interface. Was this a simulation of the void interface? After Ning Cheng understood this, he felt even more surprised. Just like elder brother Tsang Wei had said, the interface was a wall. As long as he tore through this wall, he could use the shortest time to pass through this interface. If he could not tear through this wall, then he would have to take a detour if he wanted to pass through. Tearing through interfaces was something that only powerhouses could do. Ning Cheng was not a powerhouse, and this place only simulated a low-level void interface. However, one day in the future, he would be able to tear through the interface in the real void and return to the graceful star mainland in just a few breaths. Ning Cheng no longer delayed. Circulating his celestial essence, he raised his hand and tore through the interface barrier in front of him. A new space appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng took a step inside, and his spiritual consciousness once again caught sight of the isolation of the interface. Ning Cheng knew that the interface he tore and the interface he touched were all virtual. However, he still felt excited in his heart. Ning Cheng tore through one interface after another, and Ning Cheng opened one space after another until Ning Cheng stood outside the 80th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Pushing open the 80th floor, Ning Cheng saw nothing on this floor. If this floor was the same as the 79th floor, then there would always be some void interfaces blocking the way. However, on this floor, his spiritual consciousness could move unimpeded without any obstruction from the void interfaces. There were no obstacles, no attacks. Similarly, there were no steps leading to the 81st floor. Ning Cheng could easily walk freely on the 80th floor. Apart from the praying mat in the middle of this floor, there was only one entrance to the tower. Ning Cheng knew that if he wanted to get teleported out, As long as he touched the tower's entrance, it would mean that he failed to break through the floor. In any case, Ning Qing did not want to get teleported out. Although he did not know the situation in the Culmination Public Square, he knew that the Culmination Public Square would have a lot of people at this time. After all, someone had broken into the 80th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Ning Qing walked to the praying mat in the middle of the 80th floor and sat down. He did not believe that this floor was just a decoration. Every floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower had its own function. It was impossible for the 80th floor to become meaningless. The moment Ning Qing sat down on the praying mat, one scene after another appeared in front of him. These scenes showed him facing a variety of attacks from the moment he entered the first floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Even attacks of various attributes came one after another. Among these attacks, Ning Qing managed to collect the underworld crow ghost Rot Tan, comprehended some thunder-attributed lightning arcs, and even came into contact with the means to tear through interfaces. The various scenes condensed into a variety of Dao laws, which Ning Qing repeatedly deduced. Although there were many means to attack him, the myriad variations were still one of them. Whether it was the condensation of metal, wood, water, or fire, or wind, thunder, earth, or ice, they were all methods. These methods were all condensed from the Celestial Scryer Tower. For him, these methods would be condensed from his celestial essence, spiritual consciousness, and Dao laws. One day in the future, when he reached a certain realm, he would be able to turn the wind and snow in the sky into thunder with just a raise of his hand. He could even turn a mound of earth into a sea of fire, which was the meaning of returning to one. All spirit techniques were invisible and formless, but they all came from the same source, which was also the meaning of returning to one. Just like the prosperity of all things between heaven and earth, although there seemed to be many of them, they were all a single entity. The starry sky of the universe might seem vast, but it was just a vast world. Controlling everything, turning the wind and clouds into rain with just a raise of one's hand, this was the meaning of returning to one. Something shrouded in fog suddenly loosened in Ning Qing's mind. Ning Qing suddenly opened his eyes. Was this the origin of his Dao laws? He cultivated the mysterious yellow formless and comprehended the returning to one Dao laws. His chief master Bai Qi had once said that all things return to one, and everyone had their own returning to one. Today, on the 80th floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, he finally touched the edge of his own Dao laws, which was his returning to one. If someone else sat on this praying mat, that person would have comprehended a completely different Dao law compared to returning to one. At this moment, Ning Qing felt even more excited. He did not stand up but raised his hand and took out a few materials. Bringing out the celestial river flame, the materials quickly melted and then quickly removed the impurities before condensing into one array formation after another. 2 hours later, a long spear appeared in Ning Qing's hand. Middle-grade Dao artifact. After touching the edge of his own Dao laws, he finally managed to craft his first middle-grade Dao artifact. Ning Qing laughed and stood up while holding the long spear in his hand. However, Ning Qing immediately restrained his smile and looked up. He did not know when an exit had appeared above him, but the exit led to a void. Wasn't the Celestial Scryer Tower supposed to have 81 floors? How did he reach the top after reaching the 80th floor? Chapter 580. Ning Qing's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that there really was no 81st floor above. Moreover, he did not know where he would end up after entering the void. Ning Qing still wanted to enter the immortal Jade Star and naturally did not want to enter the void. However, Ning Qing quickly understood that he had to go up. He spent the entire day on the 80th floor, but apart from going up, there was no exit to this 80th floor. Ning Qing did not want to be transferred to the public square. Therefore, he could only rush up. When Ning Qing's feet touched the ground, he found that the void that he had swept out with his spiritual consciousness had disappeared. The entrance behind him had also disappeared, indicating that he was still on the same floor. Ning Qing froze. Did his spiritual consciousness have a problem? What he had swept out with his spiritual consciousness just now was clearly the void, so why was he still on the same floor after coming up? From the 80th floor, It meant that this was the 81st floor. His spiritual consciousness had not swept out to the 81st floor, but when he came up, he actually reached the 81st floor. What was going on? This floor also did not have any attacks, nor did it have any abnormalities. A dozen steps in front of Ning Cheng, there was only a single tower door. Above the tower door was written, Celestial Scryer Tower's 81st floor entrance. Ning Cheng looked around in doubt, but found that there was no way out except for the door marked with the 81st floor's entrance. Ning Cheng quickly took a few steps forward. He wanted to open the tower door leading to the 81st floor's entrance and enter the real 81st floor. However, something even weirder happened. No matter how many steps he took, no matter how fast he moved, the distance between him and the entrance to the 81st floor still did not change. It was only a dozen steps away, but Ning Cheng had already taken thousands of steps forward. Looking forward again, the distance was still a dozen steps away. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He stimulated his celestial essence and flew up. When he landed, the entrance to the 81st floor was still in front of him. If it continued like this, he would never reach the entrance to the 81st floor. Ning Cheng stopped and did not continue with this kind of useless effort. At this moment, he felt like a monkey, as if he had fallen into someone else's palm and could no longer jump out. This feeling was not good, and it made Ning Cheng feel very uncomfortable. Ning Cheng stood in the same place for a full hour. He looked at the entrance to the 81st floor not far ahead and remained silent. He had tried walking slowly, walking quickly, flying, and teleportation, but he couldn't move even half a step forward. He suddenly understood why his divine sense had detected that this place was a void. The void was endless, or perhaps he was in it without knowing it. The space of the tower floor was very small, and the void space was very big. Who could define the difference between big and small? Although he held the mysterious yellow bead in his hand, although it was only a little, it contained thousands of worlds. It seemed that he was only a dozen steps away from the 81st floor's door. Who knew if there were countless voids in between? He had yet to comprehend the law of space, which meant that before he comprehended the law of space, he would never be able to push open the door to the 81st floor. In this lifetime, as long as he could not comprehend the law of space, he would have to stay here. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He absolutely could not stay here. He did not comprehend the spatial laws, but he comprehended some superficial knowledge of the temporal laws. He had previously comprehended the Tao of return to one. All things return to one. The wind and clouds could condense into a thunderstorm, and the iceberg could transform into a sea of fire. This place seemed to be only a dozen steps away, but he could not cross it with the laws of space. Why not try the superficial knowledge of the laws of time? Ning Cheng was a person who acted on his thoughts. He had just thought of the laws of time when he immediately brought out the Sunset's Twilight Spirit technique. The moment he brought out the Sunset's Twilight Spirit technique, everything around him seemed to come to a standstill, as if everything had turned into a sculpture. At this moment, there was only one master in this space, and that was Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng raised his foot and took a step forward. The Sunset Spirit technique disappeared, and the flow of the surroundings returned to normal. Ning Cheng looked at the 81st floor's door, which he could push open with just a stretch of his hand. He had tried countless methods before, but none of them could help him take a step forward. But after bringing out the Sunset's Twilight, he reached the entrance to the 81st floor in just a single step. This was the law of heaven and earth, and he had only touched the surface of the laws of time. In the future, if he wanted to achieve a great spirit technique and cross over to the great world, he would have to control all the laws of heaven and earth. Ning Cheng did not rush to push open the entrance to the 81st floor. He stood here and found that his spiritual consciousness could now sweep across the entire Culmination Public Square. At this time, there were more cultivators in the Culmination Public Square than he had expected. It was so dense that it almost filled the entire public square. The Culmination Public Square, as one of the top 10 public squares in the eternal heaven-starry sky city, naturally had a massive size. Yet, such a huge public square was filled with people, which showed just how many people had gathered here at this time. Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart, but at the same time, he also felt fortunate that he had not been sent out. With so many people here, of course, many of them were here to watch the show, but there must also be a lot of people interested in him. Perhaps he would be the first person to push open the entrance to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Ning Cheng stood there for a long time before calming himself down and pushing open the entrance to the 81st floor. What appeared in front of Ning Cheng was not the real 81st floor, but a flight of stairs. The stairs extended from his feet all the way to the exit on the bottom floor, which was bordered by the mist of the Celestial Scryer Tower. The entrance to the 81st floor turned out to be a flight of stairs leading to the bottom floor. Ning Cheng stood at the top of the stairs, feeling shocked in his heart. Apart from him, no one knew that the 81st floor was just a flight of stairs leading to the bottom floor. Because there were too many people on the public square, some of the cultivators had already reached the edge of the mist. Ning Cheng could see with his spiritual consciousness that some of the people would only need to take a few steps back to get close to the stairs. He felt sure that if he went down like this and slowly blended into the crowd of cultivators standing on the public square, no one would know about it. At this time, everyone's attention was focused on the Celestial Scryer Tower and the ranking display screen, so who would care about one more person suddenly appearing in the crowd? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness continued to sweep out, and he soon found the person he was looking for. The female cultivator, who looked like Shi Qianghua, was also on the public square and stood in the crowd, seemingly talking to the female cultivator next to her. Ning Cheng, who originally planned to go down like this, immediately removed his mask-type weapon and rushed down from the 81st floor. With a ready-made flight of stairs, Ning Cheng quickly came out from the bottom floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower and blended into the crowd at the edge of the mist. Just as Ning Cheng had guessed, no one knew that Ning Cheng had come down or even entered the public square. No, that Jiangzhou's wanderer seems to have stopped on the 80th floor. What's so strange about that? He had stayed on the first floor for 8 or 9 days before. How much time does he have this time? Maybe after a while he would have reached the 81st floor. I'm afraid not. You can see that the time behind him has disappeared. Hey, it really is like that? He entered the 81st floor. He really entered the 81st floor? The cultivator had only spoken halfway when he exclaimed. At this time, no one cared about his exclamation. Everyone was staring at the Celestial Scryer Tower's ranking display screen. Behind the name Jiangzhou's Wanderer, there was indeed the 81st floor. Yes, he did enter the 81st floor, but there is still no time behind him. After Ning Cheng entered the 81st floor, the entire public square boiled up. No matter who it was, everyone felt amazed that someone had finally set foot on the top floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. This was a milestone for the grand culmination Starry Skies, and nothing could be more sensational than this. Even the heavenly emperors of the grand culmination Starry Skies had never entered the 81st floor during their time in the Celestial Scryer Tower. But why is there no time behind him? It stands to reason that as long as he does not come out and remains in the Celestial Scryer Tower, the time would keep ticking. Did he fall? Since he could reach the 81st floor, how could he fall? While countless people cheered, some people also felt surprised. Behind Jiangzhou's Wanderer was the 81st floor, but there was no time ticking after that. To be precise, there was not even a time display behind it. His name has gone up a bit. With an exclamation, everyone noticed that the first name, Jiangzhou's Wanderer, and the second name, Spiritual Heaven Sex Xiao Yu, on the ranking display screen had pulled apart. At the same time, the name, Jiangzhou's Wanderer, had changed from pale gold to purple gold, and the font had also grown several times larger. Looking from afar, the words Jiangzhou's Wanderer looked extremely dazzling. Ning Cheng, who stood behind the crowd, felt equally shocked. Because he stood at the entrance of the 81st floor, his spiritual consciousness could sweep through the entire public square. Of course, he knew what was going on. When he pushed open the door to the 81st floor and walked down the stairs, the name on the ranking display screen still showed the 80th floor. When he came out of the stairs, out of the mist, and blended into the crowd on the public square, the name on the ranking display screen changed to the 81st floor. Not only that, but the time behind the name had also disappeared. Didn't this mean that the entrance to the 81st floor was on the top of the Celestial Scryer Tower? Only by opening the tower's entrance and exiting the celestial scryer tower could one truly set foot on the 81st floor. If that was the case, no one on the public square would know that everyone was standing on the 81st floor except for him. Compared to others, he only had the process of climbing to the 81st floor. Process? Ning Cheng once again looked at the excited crowd around him and suddenly felt a kind of enlightenment in his heart. In fact, many people stood in the same position and lived the same life. However, some people cherished it while some people complained about it. The reason why he cherished it was because he had worked hard to create this position. His wealth did not come from the position, but from the process, just like how he had painstakingly climbed from the first floor to the 81st floor. However, Ning Cheng quickly put aside these distracting thoughts and hurriedly squeezed through the crowd towards Shi Qianghua. Chapter 581. The most magnificent place in the eternal heaven starry sky city was naturally the leveled heart Emperor Mountain. It was a fairyland within the city, with a continuous stretch of pavilions wrapped in rich starry sky essence chi, standing amidst the verdant mountains. The mountains were surrounded by flying cranes and colorful clouds, making it hard for people to imagine that this place was in the middle of a city. This fairyland within the city was the immortal cave of Grand Culmination Starry Sky's premier Starry Sky Emperor, Chuan Xinluo. It was also the most famous of the many Star Emperor mountains. There were many legends about Chuan Xinluo in the Grand Starry Sky. It was said that Chuan Xinluo's cultivation had surpassed the eternal Starry Sky Emperor realm, but no one knew what realm he had reached. As long as a Starry Sky Emperor from Grand Culmination Starry Sky came to the eternal heaven Starry Sky City, no one would dare to not visit Chuan Xinluo. At this time, a dozen people sat in the air pavilion of the leveled heart Emperor Mountain. These were the Starry Sky Heavenly Emperors who came to visit Chuan Xinluo. Chuan Xinluo was a very proud person. However, no matter how high his status was, in the face of these Starry Sky Heavenly Emperors who came to visit, he had to take the initiative to accompany them. Has that wanderer not come out yet? Chuan Xinluo smiled and asked the maidservant beside him. Usually, when celestial emperors came to visit, they would only discuss the situation of the starry sky and exchange their cultivation gains. But this time, because of the appearance of wanderer in the Culmination Public Square, Chuan Xinluo and these starry sky emperors had another topic to discuss. Because of this, Chuan Xinluo said that once wanderer came out, he would bring him to the leveled heart Emperor Mountain. Replying to Heavenly Emperor, there is no news about him yet. He should still be in the celestial scryer tower. The maidservant quickly replied with a bow. A dark-faced man smiled. This wanderer can reach the 80th floor, which shows that he is indeed a proud talent. Perhaps our Grand Culmination Starry Sky is about to give birth to a truly heaven-defying person. Hearing the dark-faced man's words, a delicate-looking Taoist priestess sitting not far from him spoke up. Reaching the 80th floor of the celestial scryer tower is indeed a proud talent, but it is not a heaven-defying person. As long as one is familiar with starry sky attributes and has formidable strength, reaching the 80th floor is not impossible. Chuan Xinluo laughed. Brother Wu is right, this person is indeed a genius. However, I still agree with junior apprentice Sister Seeking Huey's words. In fact, there is no way to enter the 9x9 celestial scryer tower. To be able to reach the 80th level, one could already be considered a genius. Because no one has been able to reach the 81st level, even if someone managed to reach the 80th level, they would only be considered a genius and not heaven-defying. Then why? Someone immediately asked. Chuan Xinluo smiled and said, "Let junior apprentice Sister Seeking Hui answer your question." The delicate and pretty Taoist nun said calmly, "This is because the strongest attacks on the first 80 floors are only some ordinary elemental attacks or attacks on the sea of consciousness. They don't even involve laws. However, in order to enter the 81st floor from the 80th floor, it was said that one had to understand a space-time law. Whether it is the laws of space or the laws of time, they are definitely not something that a celestial scryer cultivator can control, not even the slightest bit." Speaking until here, the delicate and pretty Taoist priestess swept her gaze over the starry sky emperors around her before continuing, not to mention a celestial scryer cultivator. Even among us, how many of us have even grasped the surface of the laws of time? At least I haven't touched it yet. The surrounding starry sky emperors sucked in a breath of cold air. The laws of space were still acceptable, but the laws of time? This was simply too heaven-defying. The celestial scryer tower had the laws of time, so when Chuan Xinlo said that no one could enter the 81st floor, he definitely did not say it casually. Chuan Xinlo laughed again. Everyone, don't worry about it. Since Wanderer can enter the 80th floor, he can already be considered as the premier genius of my grand culmination starry skies. After he comes out, someone will bring him here. No matter which starry sky he comes from, I will. Chuan Xinlo's words had not yet finished when the maidservant beside him suddenly looked at the communication pearl. She then took a step forward and spoke with a trembling voice. Heavenly Emperor, that Wanderer entered the 81st floor, and the time behind him stopped. Chuan Xinlo suddenly stood up, his expression changing drastically. The Taoist priestess called Seeking Hui also stood up in shock. Only those who understood the rules of the celestial scryer tower knew how terrifying it was to rush to the 81st floor. Senior apprentice brother leveled heart, I want to go to the culmination public square. Seeking Hui no longer cared about the impoliteness of her words. A cultivator who could reach the 81st floor of the celestial scryer tower was definitely worth her time. Once such a cultivator matured, he would definitely become a powerhouse of the universe. Making friends with a powerhouse was not something that could be achieved after the powerhouse had grown strong, but before the powerhouse had grown strong. Chuan Xinlo also could not care about Seeking Hui's impoliteness and immediately spoke up, Everyone, let's go and have a look. I also want to go and have a look. Even if one's qualifications were heaven-defying, to be able to set foot on the 81st floor of the 9x9 Celestial Scryer Tower in the Celestial Scryer realm, it definitely contained an unparalleled secret. Whether it was to accept such a heaven-defying person as a disciple or something else, he could not stay here and wait. Why is it you again? Ning Cheng walked up to the two female cultivators, but before he could speak, the female cultivator next to him spoke up with a frown. Ning Cheng quickly said a word of apology to this female cultivator, and then turned to the young girl who looked like Shi Qianghua and spoke. I see that you look like a family member of mine. Her name is Shi Qianghua. Can I ask your name? When the girl heard Ning Cheng's words, her eyes immediately showed surprise. But before she could speak, the female cultivator next to her stopped in front of her and sneered, What a good idea. I think you should know where we come from, right? Ning Cheng nodded. Yes, I heard that you came from 9 Jewels Starry Sky's everlasting sacred shrine. You seem to have inquired very clearly. Do you also know that my name is Jingyi? The female cultivator spoke with disdain. Senior apprentice sister. The girl quickly spoke up from the side. But I don't even know what my surname is. The female cultivator named Jingyi looked at the girl speechlessly. Junior apprentice sister Qiong, he's just looking for an excuse. The last time we met him, you didn't see his perverted appearance. After that, she stared at Ning Cheng and spoke, I don't know which starry sky you came from, but you don't even think about cultivation or progress all day long. Just look at that person who climbed to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower. Everyone was envious and determined to keep up with that wanderer's footsteps. You, on the other hand, only know how to inquire about female cultivators' names all day long. Don't you feel ashamed? Ning Cheng knew that this Jingyi had misunderstood him. He was just about to explain when he heard the girl say that she really was called Qianghua. At this moment, how could he be in the mood to explain to Jingyi? He took a step forward in excitement and spoke with a trembling voice, Qianghua, it's really you. The girl named Qianghua quickly took a step back, but Jingyi once again stood in front of Ning Cheng and spoke with a stern voice. What do you want to do? This is the culmination public square. Believe it or not, I will immediately call out. Ning Cheng calmed down and looked at the girl before speaking. Excuse me, are you called Shi Qianghua? Even if the girl had not answered, Ning Cheng felt sure in his heart that this junior apprentice sister Qiong in front of him was 99% his Shi Qianghua. The girl hesitated for a moment before speaking. My name is Cheonghua, but I don't have a surname. Jing Yi pulled Cheonghua aside and spoke. Junior apprentice Sister Cheong, what is there to say to this kind of person? Junior apprentice Sister Cheonghua, I just want to talk to you in private. Ning Cheng spoke with a trembling voice. Jing Yi felt a little impatient. She gave a snort and asked, What's your surname? Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment, but still did not hide it and replied, My surname is Ning. Jing Yi's tone became even more disdainful. Your surname is Ning, but you just said that my junior apprentice sister is your family, and also said that my junior apprentice sister's surname is Shi. A person surnamed Ning and a person surnamed Shi are family. You wouldn't say that my junior apprentice sister is your Dao companion, right? Oh, my junior apprentice sister has never gone out alone. Maybe you would say that my junior apprentice sister was your Dao companion in her past life. Do you still have any face? Don't bully my junior apprentice sister for not knowing anything. Ning Cheng opened his mouth. He was just about to say those words. In fact, Shi Cheonghua was his wife, but she was really his wife in her past life. What? Can't say it? I've seen a lot of people like you. Next time you better stay away from us, otherwise don't blame me for being impolite. Jing Yi became more and more angry as she spoke. A stern voice interrupted Jing Yi's words. Jing Yi subconsciously stiffened for a moment, before she quickly bowed and called out, Sacred Master. Cheonghua also quickly bowed and called out, Sacred Master. A Taoist priestess wearing a light-colored Taoist robe suddenly appeared in front of Ning Cheng. This Taoist priestess looked very delicate and pretty, but Ning Cheng could not tell her age. When he heard Cheonghua call this Taoist priestess Sacred Master, he quickly cupped his fists and called out, Greetings, Senior. Who are you? The Taoist priestess' gaze swept over Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over his head, causing his entire body to turn cold. This Taoist priestess' gaze seemed to be able to penetrate his clothes, making him involuntarily want to cover his vital parts. Such a powerful cultivation, this was the only thing Ning Cheng could feel. Sacred Master, this person always pesters junior apprentice Sister Cheonghua. I was just about to tell him to stay away from us. Jing Yi quickly spoke up. The Taoist priestess' gaze turned even colder, while her powerful aura almost pressed down on Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng forced himself to stand in place, while his legs trembled. Seeing that Ning Cheng did not fall under the pressure of her imposing aura, the Taoist priestess' suppressive aura weakened a bit, but still spoke up in a cold tone. Are you in love with Cheonghua? Ning Cheng opened his mouth, but did not know how to answer. However, this Taoist priestess' cold and disdainful gaze made him feel very uncomfortable in his heart. Cheonghua was his wife, so why couldn't he like her? That's right, I like Cheonghua. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and spoke with a firm tone. Fuck off. The Taoist priestess' powerful imposing aura pressed down on him, causing Ning Cheng to retreat a dozen steps, knocking into several cultivators in a row, before he finally managed to stand firm. Chapter 582. It's you? A female cultivator whom Ning Cheng bumped into looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. Ning Cheng also recognized this female cultivator. It was the woman who had crashed into his Starry Sky battleship and forced him to pay 100 million green coins. Don't tell me you want me to pay another 100 million green coins? Ning Cheng coldly looked at the female cultivator wearing a light blue robe in front of him and spoke in a tone devoid of any warmth. Facing Cheonghua, he couldn't explain his feelings, but no one could understand them. In the end, it was because his strength was too low. Even though his strength had risen rapidly, he was still unable to stand firm in front of this Taoist nun. At this time, Ning Cheng only had one thought in his mind, and that was to cultivate. He did not continue to look for Cheonghua. He did not want to do such a meaningless thing. As long as he knew that Cheonghua was in the everlasting sacred shrine, one day he would slap this Taoist priestess away and then take Cheonghua away. Of course not, but isn't it a fact that you bumped into me just now? The blue-robed female cultivator did not get angry and spoke with a gentle tone. Ning Cheng calmly spoke. It is a fact, but there are so many people in this public square, as such it is inevitable that they would brush shoulders with each other. I'm very sorry for bumping into you. I didn't mean to. I'm not talking about you bumping into me. That's a small matter. We've met twice in a row, so it can be considered fate. Let's get to know each other. My name is Su Dai. What's your name? Contrary to Ning Cheng's expectations, this female cultivator, who had initially pressured him to lose money, now unexpectedly spoke in a very gentle tone. Regarding this female cultivator who wanted him to bow to the ground and apologize, Ning Cheng did not have a favorable impression of her. He said indifferently, "I'm just a rogue cultivator, a nameless person." Saying that, Ning Cheng no longer wanted to talk with this Su Dai. As he walked towards Zishjun, Su Dai bit her lips as she stared at Ning Cheng's back. She certainly understood the meaning behind Ning Cheng's words. That is, a person like her was not someone that he could climb up to. To put it bluntly, I don't put you in my eyes. She felt curious about Ning Cheng because Ning Cheng, a puny celestial scryer cultivator, could casually take out 100 million green coins to compensate her. If it was any other cultivator, they would definitely bow to the ground in apology. Moreover, when he spoke now, he didn't have the apologetic look from before. It could be seen that the reason why this guy gave her the money was not because he was afraid of her, but because he really knew that he was in the wrong. "Little miss, this fellow is quite interesting." The green-robed female cultivator, on seeing her little miss staring at Ning Cheng's back, added a sentence. "Junior Marshal Sister Cheong, did you see that? This person is looking for opportunities to get to know female cultivators. He had just bumped into a few people, and that female cultivator knew him. What a coincidence." Jing Yi, on seeing this situation, added oil to the fire as she spoke to Cheonghua. That Taoist priestess, addressed as Sacred Master, used her imposing aura to push Ning Cheng back. Seeing that Ning Cheng did not come up again, she also did not continue to pay attention to Ning Cheng. Instead, she asked with a slow tone, "You and Cheonghua are here. Did the celestial scryer cultivator who reached the 81st floor come down?" "He hasn't come down yet. Just now, a person was teleported out. Everyone thought that it was him, but when they rushed up, they realized that it wasn't him." Jing Yi quickly replied. "Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor is here." No one knew who called out, but it immediately attracted the attention of many people. "Brother Zish." Ning Cheng called out to Zishjun. Only then did Zishjun react, and excitedly pulled Ning Cheng towards the periphery. Ning Cheng patted Zishjun's shoulder and spoke. "Brother Zish, I know what you want to say, and I also know what you want to ask. However, these things are secondary. The main thing is that you must help me get a jade card to enter the immortal Jade Star. I want to go into seclusion for cultivation for a while, so I can only ask you for this matter. In addition to that, there is one other thing that I need Brother Zish's help with." Zishjun suppressed the excitement in his heart and spoke. "Brother Ning, you can speak freely. As long as I can help, I will definitely do my best to help you." Zishjun no longer addressed Ning Cheng as Wanderer. Instead, he changed his address to Brother Ning. From this, he understood that he could no longer use the name Wanderer. Ning Cheng whispered, "Brother Zish, you also saw the fierceness of that old Taoist priestess from the everlasting sacred shrine. That female cultivator I like is called Cheonghua. Help me keep an eye on her. Once that Cheonghua goes out alone, send me a message. If she follows that old Taoist priestess, do not send me a message. I'll take care of it." Zishjun quickly replied. Initially, he wanted to start a relationship with Ning Cheng because of the rootless green bamboo leaves. Of course, it was also because he appreciated Ning Cheng. Now that Ning Cheng could even reach the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower, he sincerely wanted to become friends with Ning Cheng. He knew that Ning Cheng had a secret, but which cultivator did not have their own secrets? Even if Ning Cheng's secret was a huge secret, if he exposed it, it would not bring him any benefits. It would only result in one more deadly enemy. Currently, Ning Cheng's cultivation was still low. If he could befriend Ning Cheng, then he might have one more powerful friend in the future. "Brother Zish, when will the immortal Jade Star open?" Ning Cheng asked with some concern. He worried that he would not have the qualifications to enter the immortal Jade Star once it opened. Zish Jun knew what Ning Cheng was worried about and signaled him with a reassuring look before whispering, "We will have to wait until all the people from the other grand starry skies gather before it opens. Don't worry, even if everyone gathers, we will have to inform everyone before it opens. That's for the best. Brother Zish, I'll take my leave first. Remember to contact me immediately if anything happens." Ning Cheng said a few words to Zish Jun and quietly left the Culmination Public Square. "Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer, you're back at the right time. Master told me that when he is not around, the artifact crafting store would have to rely on Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer. I was just worrying about it when Senior Apprentice Brother came back." "That's great." Ning Cheng had just arrived at the entrance of the Baichi artifact crafting store when Junior Apprentice Sister Yen greeted him with a professional smile. Ning Cheng couldn't help but think that this Junior Apprentice Sister Yen truly lived in the wrong place. If she were placed on Earth, she would definitely be a powerful character. Ning Cheng did not answer Junior Apprentice Sister Yan's words and just sighed with a sad look. "What's wrong? Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer?" Although Junior Apprentice Sister Yen spoke those words out of concern for Ning Cheng, she still had a professional smile on her face. "Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, you can't call me Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer from now on. I'm going to change my name." Ning Cheng's expression turned even more bitter. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen smiled. "It's a nice name. Why change it?" "Oh, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, a beautiful woman like you staying in this store all day. It's really boring." At this point, Ning Cheng's words turned mysterious. "You don't know, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen. Did someone climb to the 81st floor of the Culmination Public Square's 9x9 Celestial Scryer Tower?" "What?" Junior Apprentice Sister Yan's hands trembled, and the professional smile on her face completely disappeared, replaced with a look of shock. Ning Cheng secretly smiled in his heart. It seems that this Junior Apprentice Sister Yen is not simple. He knew that the 81st floor was extremely difficult to climb. If he had not touched the surface of the laws of time, he would not have been able to reach it. "I already said that you stay at home all day long, and this matter even alarmed Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart. That person should have already been called away by Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart." Ning Cheng spoke nonsense. In fact, he had only heard about Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart from other people's mouths. As for the full name of Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart, he simply could not figure it out. Seeing Junior Apprentice Sister Yen still in shock, Ning Cheng simply sat down across from her and spoke with a sigh. "You said that such a powerful person, of all the names, he chose to name himself Wanderer. You said that the cultivator who climbed to the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower is also called Wanderer?" Junior Apprentice Sister Yen finally came to her senses and asked in surprise. Ning Cheng nodded. "That's right. Otherwise, why would I change my name? You said that everyone has the same name, so why is there such a big difference?" Alas. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen finally calmed down and once again restored her professional smile. "There are many people with the same name. Senior Apprentice Brother, you don't have to change your name. Wanderer is also a good name." Ning Cheng shook his head. "No, I've been watching from the public square. After that Wanderer rushed to the 81st floor, all the beautiful female cultivators in the public square screamed out in surprise. They all worshipped him. If I don't change my name, I will definitely get beaten up after school." "Senior Apprentice Brother, what do you mean by after school?" "Forget it. You just need to know that if I still call myself Wanderer, many beautiful female cultivators would come to beat me up. In any case, you can just call me Senior Apprentice Brother Ning from now on." Ning Cheng waved his hand and did not say his name. Since Junior Apprentice Sister Yen did not say her name to him, he also did not need to say his name to her. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen showed a slight smile. "Senior Apprentice Brother Ning worries too much. Such a thing should not happen." Although she said that such a thing would not happen, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen still changed the address to Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. "Today, I was stopped by a female cultivator on the public square. If Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart hadn't come, I would have ended up getting beaten up." Ning Cheng gnashed his teeth and spoke. He had to remember that Taoist priestess from the everlasting sacred shrine. One day, he would use his imposing aura to suppress that Taoist priestess. Is there really such a thing? Junior apprentice Sister Yen also saw that Ning Cheng was not joking. Let's not talk about it. Master Bai Chi said that when he is not around, his room is mine. I'm going to rest. If there is anything related to crafting artifacts, you can just collect the materials and bring them up. Master Bai Chi has already taught me all his skills. If there is anything related to crafting spirit artifacts, you can refuse it for the time being. I can't craft spirit artifacts for the time being. As Ning Cheng spoke, he walked to the second floor and took out the array entry jade card that Master Bai Chi had left for him. Yes, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen spoke with a respectful smile. She watched Ning Cheng walk to the second floor and thought to herself, no wonder Master accepted him as a disciple. This senior apprentice brother and Master seemed to have some similarities, except that their skin was a bit thicker. Arriving at the place where Zhongli Baiqi used to craft artifacts, Ning Cheng's smiling face immediately sank. Talking nonsense with junior apprentice Sister Yen really did make him feel a bit better. However, no matter how much he talked, the helplessness and grievance in the depths of his heart could not dissipate. Strength, he had to have strength. After the matters of the immortal Jade Star came to an end, he would find a place to go into seclusion. Chapter 583. Ning Cheng felt very satisfied with Zhongli Baiqi's artifact crafting room. Not only did it have rich starry sky essence qi, but it also had many shielding restrictions around the room. Ning Cheng did not see any monitoring array formations in this place. However, Zhongli Baiqi's cultivation was much higher compared to his own. Even if he did not see the monitoring array formation, he would not use the mysterious yellow bead in this place, nor did he intend to cultivate in this place. In order to enter the immortal Jade Star, Xiao Yu even erased his own cultivation. As such, he naturally did not want to rush to advance to the Celestial Bridge realm. Moreover, he couldn't refine harmonizing celestial pills. Not to mention that harmonizing celestial pills were grade 4 king pills, he couldn't even refine grade 1 celestial pills. As for advancing to the Celestial Bridge realm, without harmonizing celestial pills, it would be extremely difficult. Since he was already at Baiqi Equipment Forging Store, why would he still need to provide the materials to continue forging Dao artifacts? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng immediately called out, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, bring me all the materials for crafting artifacts. I want to prepare for crafting artifacts. These are the things that Master had instructed me to do before he left. Hearing Ning Cheng's voice, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen quickly came up. She simply did not question whether Ning Cheng's words were true or false, as she smiled and took out a ring and a jade strip. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. Inside this ring are the materials that the guests brought for crafting artifacts. The jade strip contains the request of the guest. I will be going down. If Senior Apprentice Brother Ning has any instructions, you can call me at any time. Ning Cheng took the ring and the jade strip, before he waved his hand towards Junior Apprentice Sister Yen and spoke, You can go now. As long as someone comes to craft artifacts, you can send the materials to me after a while. Okay, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen bowed and retreated, which made Ning Cheng feel very refreshed in his heart. His cheap master, Bai Qi, was not around, but he could enjoy the treatment of Bai Qi's master. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen had just gone down when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept into the ring. When he saw the mountain of materials in the ring, he immediately cried out in shock. There were simply enough materials to refine tens of thousands of middle-grade Dao artifacts. No matter how fast his refining speed was, how long would it take to refine them all? Hearing Ning Cheng's voice coming from upstairs, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, who had already arrived at the reception desk, smiled even more brightly. Ning Cheng looked at the long list of Dao artifacts that he needed to craft on the jade strip and decided to start crafting them. The materials here could at least refine twice the number of Dao tools listed on the jade slip. Not only could he use all kinds of materials to practice for free, but he could also make a windfall. Although these materials could be used to craft middle-grade Dao artifacts, in Ning Cheng's opinion, they were not precious at all. Most of them were grade 4 starry sky materials, while a few were grade 5 starry sky materials. Even in his ring, there were many more precious materials than these. When Ning Cheng brought out the celestial river flame and started crafting artifacts, he completely immersed himself in it. Although his artifact crafting techniques were inspired by Zhongli Baiqi, the truth was that Ning Cheng's artifact crafting techniques and methods were all derived from his own deductions. No master had ever taught him anything. Ever since he crafted his first middle-grade Dao artifact, Ning Cheng had never failed. Ning Cheng crafted one middle-grade Dao artifact after another and threw them aside. Soon, the middle-grade Dao artifacts around Ning Cheng piled up into a small hill. Artifact crafting also consumed a lot of celestial essence. Only in this place could Ning Cheng truly appreciate the benefits of crafting artifacts. Zhongli Baiqi's artifact crafting store had an abundance of celestial essence and could quickly replenish the consumption for crafting artifacts. Middle-grade Dao artifacts were also divided into different grades. The difference between a good middle-grade Dao artifact and a poor middle-grade Dao artifact was quite large. Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow formless cultivation method was suitable for correcting and finding the best method. The more middle-grade Dao artifacts he crafted, the more brilliant his artifact crafting techniques became, and the more perfect his artifact crafting techniques became. When Ning Cheng crafted hundreds of middle-grade Dao artifacts, he stopped crafting artifacts. He had come here to learn artifact crafting, not to work for his cheap master for free. Now that he crafted middle-grade Dao artifacts, apart from melting the materials and condensing the artifact shape, he no longer had any doubts about his techniques. Ning Cheng put away the extra materials into his ring and put the hundreds of finished Dao artifacts into another ring before walking down the stairs. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. Seeing Ning Cheng come down, Junior Apprentice Sister Yen smiled without saying anything. Ning Cheng handed the ring in his hand to Junior Apprentice Sister Yen. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, I've finished crafting the Dao artifacts you gave me. I've wasted a lot of materials. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen grabbed the ring and swept it with her spiritual consciousness. When she saw the hundreds of middle-grade Dao artifacts inside the ring, she looked up at Ning Cheng in disbelief. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, did you craft all these? Naturally. Besides me, who else would help me craft artifacts? Ning Cheng smiled. Now you can give me the materials for crafting high-grade Dao artifacts. I'm going to continue crafting artifacts. I came here to help my master, not to play around. Junior Apprentice Sister Yan's eyes flashed with excitement as she took out another ring. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept inside and immediately felt disappointed. Although the materials in this ring were better than the ones in the previous ring, the best ones were only a few starry sky grade 6 materials. Moreover, they were also very rare. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen, are there no grade 7, grade 8 or grade 9 materials here? Ning Cheng asked with some dissatisfaction. The better the materials, the easier it would be to craft high-grade Dao artifacts. Junior Apprentice Sister Yen showed a rare blush on her face. No, Master has already used up all the high-grade materials. These are the best I have here. That's not right, Ning Cheng thought as he looked at Junior Apprentice Sister Yen with some suspicion. This Junior Apprentice Sister usually wore a professional smile on her face. Even if there were no better materials, she wouldn't blush. After all, these materials weren't hers. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, do you have a Nirvana flame? Junior Apprentice Sister Yen seemed to feel that she had lost her composure and quickly changed the topic. Nirvana flame? Ning Cheng shook his head. How can it be considered as a Nirvana flame? Junior Apprentice Sister Yen looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. It took her a while to understand that Ning Cheng truly didn't know. She then said, after a flame evolves to purple, it would need to swallow top-grade starry sky fire-attributed materials to undergo nirvana and evolve into a starry sky flame. Otherwise, there is no way to melt top-grade starry sky materials. Senior Apprentice Brother, if you don't have a nirvana flame, how did you craft middle-grade Dao artifacts? Ning Cheng suddenly understood. He had spent most of his energy on crafting middle-grade Dao artifacts to melt the materials and condense the artifact shape. Otherwise, his artifact crafting speed would have been much faster and the quality of the Dao artifacts would have been much higher. He had initially thought that it was due to his low cultivation, but now it seems that the grade of his flame wasn't good enough. Fortunately, his starry sky sea of consciousness was powerful, otherwise he might not have been able to craft middle-grade Dao artifacts. Although Ning Qing didn't understand the nirvana flame that junior apprentice Sister Yan spoke about, Ning Qing still understood the meaning behind junior apprentice Sister Yan's sudden change of topic. He put away the artifact crafting material ring that junior apprentice Sister Yan had given him and suddenly said, "Junior apprentice Sister Yan, what's wrong with your hand? Let me see." Junior apprentice Sister Yan didn't react and subconsciously stretched out her hand to Ning Qing. Ning Qing grabbed junior apprentice Sister Yan's hand and looked at it over and over again until junior apprentice Sister Yan's face turned red. Only then did he put down his hand and speak, "So I made a mistake. Junior apprentice Sister Yan, I'm going up to continue crafting artifacts. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, please go ahead. If there's anything here, I'll take care of it." The blush on junior apprentice Sister Yan's face disappeared in a flash, before she returned to her smiling expression. Ning Qing nodded and returned to the room. Sure enough, just as he had guessed, he had only sat in the room for a while when junior apprentice Sister Yan hurriedly went out and activated the artifact crafting store's restrictions. Ning Qing showed a smile and immediately went downstairs to follow her out. He believed that junior apprentice Sister Yan wouldn't be able to see the spiritual consciousness tag he had placed on her. This junior apprentice Sister Yan couldn't come up with higher-grade artifact crafting materials. Moreover, she had so many low-grade artifact crafting materials, which meant that there was definitely a problem. Junior apprentice Sister Yan didn't know that Ning Qing was following her. After she quickly left the Baiqi artifact crafting store, she took a few turns before finally entering a place that Ning Qing was familiar with. Transcending Dao artifacts. Ning Qing's decision to craft artifacts, as well as his cheap master Zhongli Baiqi, all came from the Transcending Dao Artifacts merchant house. In addition to purchasing a variety of materials and artifacts, this place also sold a variety of artifacts. Junior apprentice Sister Yan definitely didn't come to this place to buy artifacts. Her only purpose was to sell the Dao artifacts in her hands. At this time, how could Ning Qing not understand junior apprentice Sister Yan's thoughts? The materials that she had given him before must have been something that she had hidden for herself. Most likely, they were some of the junk materials that Zhongli Baiqi had used for crafting artifacts. She had collected these materials and used them for free work. She actually took out the Dao artifacts that she had refined and sold them for money. This woman truly had a way with words. Just when Ning Qing was thinking about whether to follow up and expose junior apprentice Sister Yan, Zish Jun sent him another message. The communication pearl clearly showed that the female cultivator named Qianghua and her senior apprentice sister had just left the eternal heaven starry sky city alone. Ning Qing had something to do and could not follow them. Ning Qing immediately replied to Zish Jun. He no longer had the mind to expose junior apprentice Sister Yan and quickly turned around and rushed out of the city. Chapter 584. The Flying Celestial Chamber of Commerce was a well-known chamber of commerce within the eternal heaven's starry sky city. Moreover, the association head, Su Qianhan, was a powerhouse in the life and death realm. Unfortunately, although Su Qianhan had countless harems, he only had one daughter, Su Dai. Because of this, he not only doted on his daughter, but also let her learn his cultivation method. Obviously, a life and death realm warrior's cultivation technique would not be bad. Although Su Dai's talent could only be regarded as above average, it was because she had top-notch cultivation techniques and top-notch cultivation resources. Just like some geniuses, he reached the great circle of the Star-Gatherer realm at a young age. However, Su Qianhan was a man, and his cultivation technique leaned towards Yin, so it didn't matter if he cultivated it. Su Dai was a woman to begin with, and because she cultivated a Yin-leaning cultivation method, it caused her meridians to turn Yin, making it impossible for her to pry into the fused celestial bridge. To help his daughter integrate with the celestial bridge on the immortal Jade Star, Su Qianhan decided to help his daughter find a Dao companion immediately. Because Su Dai had requested that the Tao companion must be someone who would accompany her for life, Su Qianhan found it a little troublesome to choose. After choosing dozens of people, Su Dai did not take a liking to any of them, so Su Qianhan could only let her daughter choose herself. At this moment in the Flying Star Chamber of Commerce, Su Qianhan looked helplessly at his daughter, who was standing in front of him. He sighed and said, Dai, it's useless to look for a Tao companion like you. The cultivator you mentioned should be around the celestial Shatterer realm. You didn't even say 10 sentences to him. Father, didn't you say that the sooner I find a Tao companion, the better? Su Dai said disapprovingly. That's true, but we can't just randomly look for them. Of the people I helped you find, which one of them isn't from a great sect? Which one isn't a peak star condensation cultivator? Why didn't you take a fancy to any of them? Why did you find a rogue cultivator with only a celestial shatterer cultivation? Although Su Qianhan was very angry in her heart, her tone was still gentle. Su Dai immediately retorted, You haven't even seen good or bad, how would you know? Shouldn't you at least take a look and then give me a suggestion? I just wanted to take a look. Where is he now? With the celestial scryer geniuses from the various grand starry skies gathering in the eternal heaven starry sky city, the immortal Jade Star was about to open. Everyone knew that after entering the immortal Jade Star, the first thing to do was to fuse with the celestial wheel and advance to the celestial bridge realm, only then would there be room for competition. If we continue to drag things out, I would rather you not enter the immortal Jade Star. Otherwise, how could you, a celestial gatherer cultivator, fight against a bunch of celestial bridge cultivators? Su Qianhan explained in disappointment. Su Dai bit her lip. Whether you agree or not, you have to at least take a look. If you feel that he really can't do it, as long as it makes sense, I will listen. Besides, even if we talk until our mouths are dry, they might not agree. Humph, I'm a Fate Realm powerhouse with a huge starry sky chamber of commerce. How could a puny celestial shatter cultivator dare to disagree? Su Qianhan glared at him and spoke with some dissatisfaction. If they see that I'm the young mistress of the Flying Star Chamber of Commerce and know that you're a life and death realm expert, they'll agree immediately. I'm not willing to marry such a person. Needless to say, this kind of person is also a spineless coward, Su Dai replied with some dissatisfaction. All right, I'll go along with you. Tell me, when can I find him? Su Qianhan had no choice but to compromise. Su Dai, on seeing her father relent, quickly spoke up, This person is a bit restless. I don't think he will stay in the eternal heaven starry sky city for long. So, I asked Lan Sha to wait outside the city. As long as he leaves the city, she can catch him. Su Qianhan looked at his daughter's glowing eyes and shook his head speechlessly. This daughter of his had been spoiled by him. If one did not know about it, they would have thought that it was a marriage kidnapping. By the way, father, is there any news about the wanderer who broke into the 81st floor of the Celestial Scryer Tower? Su Dai, satisfied with her thoughts, immediately turned happy. Su Qianhan shook his head, There's no news. That cultivator seems to have disappeared without a trace. Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart has also sent people to keep watch around the Celestial Scryer Tower, but they have not received any news about this person. It really is a pity. Su Dai did not think that it was a pity. If that wanderer had only reached the 50th floor, it would have been a pity if she did not see him. That wanderer had reached the 81st floor, which had nothing to do with her. Since he did not come out, what kind of regret was it? By the time Ning Qing rushed out of the eternal heaven starry sky city, he had already lost sight of Qianghua. The eternal heaven starry sky city was a massive city, while the culmination starland looked even more boundless. Without a direction, it would be impossible to find where Qianghua went. Little Miss guessed it right, you really did come out. A voice with some joy arrived. Ning Qing looked at the green-robed female cultivator and frowned. He knew this female cultivator, the one who followed Su Dai around. He had nothing to do with Su Dai at all. Moreover, he had paid her 100 million green coins because the other party had crashed into his airship. The second time they met, it was because there were too many people on the public square. At that time, The Taoist priestess from the everlasting sacred shrine had used her imposing aura to push him back and accidentally bumped into her. Ning Cheng could not understand why this woman had sent someone to wait for him here. Seeing Ning Cheng not speaking, the green-robed female cultivator quickly walked up to Ning Cheng and spoke. "My name is Lan Sha, and Su Dai is our little Mississippi. You already know her anyway. Now that our association master wants to see you, you can come with me." "I don't know your association master. I'm sorry, but I won't go with you." Ning Cheng flatly refused. He could not understand what was going on. Lan Sha whispered to Ning Cheng, "I know that you are definitely a rogue cultivator, and this matter will not do you any harm. You will know when you get there. The Flying Celestial Chamber of Commerce is also famous in the Eternal Heaven's Starry Sky City. Even if you go there, you will find benefits that you can't even imagine." Ning Cheng did not even think about going to the Flying Celestial Chamber of Commerce. Instead, he thought of another thing and asked with a gentle tone, "Lan Sha, have you been waiting for me here?" "Yes, I have been waiting for you here. Little Miss said that you are a restless person and would definitely come out of the city." Now it seems that Little Miss did not guess wrong. Lan Sha showed a smile. Apparently, she felt very proud of her Little Miss's intelligence. "The last time I was at the Culmination Public Square, I was suppressed by a Taoist priestess. You should also know about it, right?" Ning Cheng quickly asked. Lan Sha spoke up with disdain, "Of course I know about it. You don't have to worry about that woman. Our association master is not afraid of her at all." Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart. That Taoist priestess was definitely a powerhouse. She might even be a powerhouse above the life and death realm. Since the association master of the Flying Celestial Chamber of Commerce did not fear her, then presumably she was not someone easy to deal with. "Did you see the two female cultivators who followed that Taoist priestess out just now?" Ning Cheng seized the opportunity to continue to ask. He knew that Lan Sha understood who he was talking about. Initially, he had clashed with that Taoist priestess because of Qianghua. Moreover, Lan Sha was also present at the public square. "I saw it. Not long ago, the two of them passed by me. I am too lazy to pay attention to such rude people. It's just a few words. Is there a need to act like this? If someone said that they liked me, then I would be very happy." That Taoist priestess simply made a big fuss over a minor issue. Lan Sha spoke with disdain. When Ning Cheng heard this, his impression of Lan Sha immediately soared. That's right, just saying that they liked each other was not a bad thing. "Junior apprentice Sister Lan Sha, we really think alike. By the way, did you see which direction they went?" Although Ning Cheng was anxious in his heart, his tone was still very calm. Lan Sha immediately replied, "I am too lazy to see where they went. But when the two of them passed by me, they said something about the Changing Earth Nunnery. It was an invitation or something. As for the rest, I do not know." Ning Cheng felt a burst of excitement in his heart. He did not think that there would be such good news. He did not ask Lan Sha where the Changing Earth Nunnery was. If he had asked, even if Lan Sha was a fool, she would have understood his meaning. "Why don't you come with me to the Flying Celestial Chamber of Commerce? I still don't know your name." Lan Sha and Ning Cheng chatted enthusiastically. "Junior apprentice Sister Lan Sha, do you have a map of the Culmination Starland?" Ning Cheng did not answer Lan Sha's question directly. Lan Sha's thoughts were not as complicated as Ning Cheng's. She did not hesitate to take out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. "This is..." Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the jade strip and found that the Culmination Starland was boundless, with all kinds of starry sky cities, celestial river cities, corner fortresses, sects and makeshift markets. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness casually swept through the area but did not find the Changing Earth Nunnery. Instead, he found a Changing Earth Mountain. Ning Cheng put away the jade strip and spoke to Lan Sha with an apologetic tone. "Junior apprentice Sister Lan Sha, I have to go out for a few things. I will definitely thank you in the future." After saying that, Ning Cheng did not wait for Lan Sha's answer. He quickly left the forbidden space, brought out a flight-type weapon, and soon disappeared without a trace. Lan Sha stared blankly at Ning Cheng's disappearing figure. At this time, she finally reacted. Ning Cheng should have gone to chase after the two female cultivators. She suddenly frowned and gave a snort. Sure enough, the harder it is to get, the better it is. I will definitely tell little miss about it. Ning Cheng asked 7 or 8 people along the way, but none of them knew where the Changing Earth Nunnery was. In order to not delay any further, Ning Cheng gave up on the flight-type weapon and directly used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to fly towards the Changing Earth Mountains. If he could not find the Changing Earth Nunnery, then he would have to go to the Changing Earth Mountains. If he found the wrong place, then he would have to wait for the next opportunity to explain it to Cheonghua. The Changing Earth Mountains were millions of miles away from the nearest corner city. Although a distance of millions of miles was not too far for a starry sky cultivator, it was still a subtle distance. Because at this distance, apart from top-notch powerhouses, ordinary spiritual consciousness would find it difficult to sweep through. In a starland, as long as one's spiritual consciousness could not sweep through, it would be a blind spot. What a beautiful place! Jing Yi stood outside the Changing Earth Mountains and sighed in amazement. The rolling green and soft white clouds mixed together. If one could hear the sound of flowing waterfalls and the occasional bird chirping, no one would dislike this kind of place. Cheonghua, who stood next to Jing Yi, also exclaimed, "It really is beautiful." After sighing, she asked, "Senior Apprentice Sister Yi, do you think Uncle Master Mi Chen will accept Sacred Master's invitation and return to the Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City with us?" Chapter 585. Who knows? Let's go in first. Whether or not Martial Aunt will go with us, she will not vent her anger on us. Jing Yi spoke with a sigh. Senior Apprentice Sister Yi, do you know why Martial Uncle Mi Chen wanted to leave the sect? Why did you come to this distant culmination starland to establish the Changing Earth Nunnery? Cheonghua asked with some curiosity. Jing Yi quickly pulled Cheonghua and whispered in Cheonghua's ear, "Junior Apprentice Sister, what I told you, you only need to know about it. Do not ask about it again in the future. Uncle Master Mi Yun used to have the same identity as you, our everlasting sacred shrine's sacred lady. I heard that she rebelled against her sect because she was pregnant, and then the sacred gate killed her Dao companion." Cheonghua exclaimed in surprise. Everlasting sacred shrine's sacred lady was pregnant. It was simply too shocking. After feeling shocked, Cheonghua asked in a puzzled manner, "But why did Sacred Master ask us to invite?" Jing Yi did not answer Cheonghua's words. Instead, she pointed to the verdant land in front of them and spoke, "You see, this place is really beautiful. Only Uncle Master Mi Yun, an eternal-level powerhouse, could have such a beautiful sage domain." Cheonghua understood the meaning behind her senior apprentice sister's words. Sacred Master came looking for Uncle Master Mi Yun because Uncle Master Mi Yun's cultivation had already reached the eternal level. In the face of such an expert, talking about punishment was simply a joke. Senior Apprentice Sister Yi, wait. Cheonghua suddenly called out to Jing Yi. Jing Yi looked at Cheonghua in confusion. "What's the matter?" "Senior Apprentice Sister, do you smell a very faint smell of blood?" Cheonghua pointed to the depths of the Changing Earth Mountains and whispered. Jing Yi's face also changed. "There really is a bloody smell. Junior Apprentice Sister, let's quickly leave. Martial Uncle Mi Yun loves cleanliness the most, so she would definitely not let the place she lives in have this kind of smell. Senior Apprentice Sister, when we came in, there were no abnormalities, but now there seems to be an entrapment array formation outside." Cheonghua spoke with an anxious tone. "Quickly get the communication pearl." Jing Yi said eagerly. "The message can't be sent out. Something must have happened here. No one is coming here right now. Let's hurry up and find a way to get out of here." After Cheonghua sent out a message, she put away the communications pearl again. Ning Cheng, who was standing outside the Changing Earth Mountains, immediately felt that something was wrong. There was an entrapment array formation here. This trapping array was very special. There was no effect when one entered, and one could not even discover this trapping array. But once they came out, the confinement formation would take effect and they wouldn't even be able to send out any messages. The standard of this entrapment formation was not high and could barely be regarded as a grade 5 celestial river array. Ning Cheng had been researching array formations and refining array disks for a long time and had already surpassed the level of a celestial array master. At the same time, his level was also close to that of a Tier 4 array king. Although he had yet to arrange a grade 4 celestial river array, Ning Cheng believed that as long as he had enough materials and time, it would only be a matter of time before he could arrange a grade 4 celestial river array. Ning Cheng could not understand why the changing Earth Mountains would arrange such an entrapment array formation. Even if they wanted to arrange an array formation, they should have arranged a mountain protecting grand array. Something is not right, this is definitely abnormal, Ning Cheng thought of the mountain protecting grand array and immediately became vigilant. It was impossible for such a beautiful place to be uninhabited. Since there were people living here, there would definitely be a mountain protecting grand array. But when he came here, he actually didn't see the mountain protecting array. He could even see some clues about the Grand Culmination Starland's star protecting grand array, so there was no reason for him not to see the hidden mountain protecting grand array here. Ning Cheng did not immediately enter the array formation. Instead, he looked around. In just a dozen breaths, Ning Cheng could see that there was indeed a mountain protecting grand array here. However, someone had already broken the mountain protecting grand array and even removed all traces of it. If he were not an array formation master close to the king grade, he would never be able to see through it. Regardless of whether Qianghua went in or not, Ning Cheng intended to go in and have a look. He arranged 2 simple tearing array formations outside the entrapment formation of the changing Earth Mountains. Although the tearing array formations could not break the array formation in front of him, it would allow him to rush out of the entrapment formation in the shortest time. After arranging the escape route, Ning Cheng carefully entered the entrapment formation. After entering the entrapment formation, Ning Cheng felt that this was a good place. No, Ning Cheng could smell a faint smell of blood. Ning Cheng had experienced too many killings, so he was very familiar with this bloody smell. Apparently, something had happened in this place. Ning Cheng did not continue to enter. Instead, he swept out with his spiritual consciousness. Soon, his spiritual consciousness found a huge stone tablet with the words "Changing Earth Nunnery" engraved on it. Above it were some restrictions, which even his starry skies spiritual consciousness could only vaguely make out. Before seeing these 3 words, Ning Cheng was still considering whether to go in or not. After all, his cultivation was only at the Celestial Gatherer realm. Since this place contained a cultivator who could arrange a grade 4 celestial river array formation, then his cultivation would definitely not be just in the Celestial Gatherer realm. However, the moment he saw these 3 words, Ning Cheng immediately put aside such considerations. With a flash, he quickly rushed inside. At the same time, he secretly cursed that old Taoist priestess in his heart. She actually sent out 2 disciples with only celestial scryer cultivation to handle this matter. Did she really want to die by herself? Ning Cheng had just rushed past the stone tablet engraved with the words "Changing Earth Nunnery" when he saw a corpse lying on the ground. It was a female cultivator wearing a Taoist robe. She had a pale complexion and looked very delicate. However, the lower part of her robes had been torn open, revealing a pool of blood. Ning Cheng felt a chill in his heart. Who killed this person in such a cruel manner? Thinking that Qianghua had also entered this place, Ning Cheng felt even more panicked. Not caring about the corpse, he stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and sped up. Along the way, Ning Cheng once again saw the corpses of several female cultivators. These female cultivators all had the same situation and were all wearing Taoist robes. At this time, in addition to worrying about Qianghua, Ning Cheng's face also turned livid with anger. If this planet belonged to him, even if such a person escaped to the ends of the earth, he would definitely catch this beast and burn it with his celestial river flame for 49 years. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness crazily stabbed out, while his spiritual consciousness blade unscrupulously slashed out. At this time, he no longer wanted to preserve his strength. He just wanted to find Qianghua as soon as possible. It stood to reason that with his speed, even if Qianghua and Yi arrived earlier than him, they would not have been much earlier. A scream rang out, which was caught by Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness. He then saw Jingyi in a call behind the changing earth nunnery. Qianghua had come together with Jingyi, but now that Jingyi was here, Ning Cheng unexpectedly did not see Qianghua. Ning Cheng stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and directly rushed towards the colonel. This call was extremely humid and filled with a thick miasma. The veil covering Jingyi's face had long since disappeared, revealing an amazingly beautiful face. Even her robes were in tatters. At this time, she tightly grabbed onto an arm-thick vine tree next to her and stared at a cave not far away in horror, completely forgetting that her robes were in tatters. At this time, she also forgot that she was still a celestial gatherer cultivator. As such, grabbing onto a vine tree would not help her at all. Where is Qianghua? Ning Cheng rushed over, not caring about the difference between men and women. He immediately grabbed Jingyi's chest and picked her up. Jingyi felt shocked and sobered up from the horror. When she saw Ning Cheng, her eyes immediately turned even more panicked. How come it's you? Why you here? Don't tell me you killed everyone here. Less nonsense, hurry up and tell me, where is Qianghua? Ning Cheng did not have the leisure to explain to Jingyi. Instead, he frantically picked up Jingyi. Jingyi seemed to be frightened by Ning Cheng's madness and quickly spoke up. Qianghua got sucked into that cave. I hurriedly retreated. Jingyi had not even finished her sentence when she found that Ning Cheng had already thrown her to the ground and rushed towards the cave. Jingyi also understood that she had misunderstood Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng had not done anything to the changing earth nunnery. What's more, in her eyes, this cultivator only had one or two vague celestial wheels. Sometimes she could not even see them, which meant that he definitely could not have done such a thing. Now that she saw Ning Cheng rushing towards the cave when he heard that Qianghua got sucked into it, she understood that he must have chased after her and Qianghua. Bursts of sobbing came from all around, causing Jingyi to shiver. At this moment, it felt as if an invisible hand wanted to grab her and take her away, causing her to tremble. Even with a celestial gatherer cultivation, she could not help but look around. At this time, she did not dare to rush into the cave, nor did she dare to leave this place. The dead female cultivators outside made her feel both anger and fear. She feared that if she left this place, this misfortune would soon befall her. However, staying in this place made her feel even more panicked. Ning Cheng had just approached the cave when a terrifying suction force emerged. Ning Cheng could not resist it at all. Not only did he not resist, but he also rushed into the cave along with this suction force. The moment he got sucked in, Ning Cheng immediately brought out his treasured thunder spear. In just a few breaths, the shadow of a female cultivator wearing a blue robe appeared in his line of sight. It was definitely Qianghua, without a doubt. At this moment, Qianghua was lying on the ground, hugging a huge stone pillar. Her clothes were not much better than Jingyi's. Seeing that Qianghua had not met with an accident, Ning Cheng felt relieved in his heart. However, a faintly discernible gray-colored hand suddenly grabbed towards Qianghua on the ground. This big hand reminded Ning Cheng of the time when he carried Luofei on his back in the Thunder Fall Desert. It was also the same big hand that appeared out of nowhere and almost grabbed Luofei away. This time, he once again encountered the same big hand, which wanted to grab Qianghua. Ning Cheng's already incomparably angry emotions erupted. Although he did not know why this big hand moved so slowly, Ning Cheng did not want to think about it. The treasured thunder spear turned into an invisible spear line that broke through the surrounding space and shot out. Bang! The violent celestial essence exploded and rushed towards Ning Cheng's chest, causing Ning Cheng to spit out a mouthful of blood. At this time, if Ning Cheng had retreated, he would have suffered lesser injuries. With Qianghua in front of him, how could he retreat? Activating the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, Ning Cheng did not retreat but instead moved forward, causing him to suffer even more injuries. Qianghua also felt the violent celestial essence and was sent flying. However, Ning Cheng had already rushed over and held Qianghua in his arms. Sensing the familiar fragrance and feeling, Ning Cheng knew that he had not made a mistake. The one in his arms was indeed sure Qianghua. Quickly go out and tell others. A hoarse voice came from the innermost part of the cave, which made Ning Qing even more puzzled. This voice clearly belonged to a woman. Chapter 586. Needless to say, Ning Qing also wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Ning Qing had just taken a few steps back when a buzzing sound arrived, followed by a wave of killing intent penetrating his skin and wrapping around Ning Qing. This was a Grade 5 Celestial River Entrapment Killing Array. Ning Qing himself was close to becoming a Grade 4 Array King Master. As such, he could immediately feel the Celestial River Array's activation. Bringing out the everlasting Blue Thunder City, Ning Qing had no choice but to turn back. He did not have the ability to face a Grade 5 Celestial River Killing formation directly. He could tear open this kind of formation and leave, but the prerequisite was that he had to first find one of the formation bases. Chi, another space-piercing killing intent, directly blasted open Ning Qing's Celestial River domain. The killing intent hadn't even reached Ning Qing when Ning Qing felt his sea of consciousness shaking. Catcha, a sound emerged, and the everlasting Blue Thunder City shattered. However, this killing intent did not weaken even half a bit, and still continued to rumble over. Ning Qing brought out the treasured Thunder Spear in his hand. He had just brought out the traceless spear intent, but before it could even cut through the void, it collided with a horrifying force. Bang! An explosive sound rang out, as Ning Qing once again spurted out a mouthful of blood, as he directly slammed into a wall. Even though the wall was reinforced by a formation and was incomparably sturdy. However, under the powerful Celestial Essence joint attack, it had already suffered some damage. Now that Ning Qing slammed into it, the wall immediately turned into slag. As the rich Celestial Essence Qi dissipated, a spacious room appeared in front of Ning Qing. The room was very big, but the layout inside was very simple. There was only a stone bed, and on the edge of the stone bed, there was a jade statue. The statue seemed to be of a young man, and it looked very clear and distinct. On the ground at one side of the room, an abnormally beautiful Taoist nun with a pale complexion sat paralyzed on a prayer mat. There was still blood flowing from the corner of the Taoist nun's mouth. Her clothes were torn like strips of cloth, revealing her pure white skin and astonishing figure. Only a few steps away from the Taoist nun, a handsome man without eyebrows also fell to the ground. A cyan sword pierced through his chest and nailed him to a pillar on the wall that was engraved with arrays, rendering him unable to move at all. At this moment, his aura was in disarray, and the celestial wheel behind him looked blurry. An ant that hasn't even reached the Celestial River grade managed to escape from my killing array and even block one of my blows. The eyebrowless man spoke with a hint of disdain when he saw Ning Qing carrying Qianghua in. Ning Qing glanced at the eyebrowless man with a cold gaze. His Celestial River domain secretly raised his guard and spoke up calmly, "It looks like you're just a dying dog in the heaven-seated realm. Yet, you speak as if you're the master of the universe." Although Ning Qing's tone was very calm, but he was very clear in his heart that this person who was nailed by the long sword was very dangerous. The opposite party could take his life at any time. "You can see through my cultivation?" The eyebrowless man nailed to the ground by the blue sword looked at Ning Qing in shock. At this moment, Qianghua also sobered up and quickly spoke up, "Thank you, senior apprentice brother, please put me down." Ning Qing carefully put Qianghua down, while standing in front of her and spoke, "This eyebrowless monster can still move, you have to be careful." "Thank you, senior apprentice brother, for saving me." Qianghua spoke in a low voice. Her face was a bit red, even her ears were red. Not to mention her identity, even since she was born, she had never been held in the arms of the opposite sex. "Did Seeking Hui send you to find me?" The Taoist priestess sitting on the praying mat suddenly asked in a hoarse voice. Qianghua sobered up from the embarrassment and quickly spoke up, "Yes, are you Uncle Master Seeking Chin? How did this place end up like this?" Many senior apprentice sisters died outside. Although the Taoist priestess' voice was hoarse, she spoke up in an unusually calm voice. "Go, tell Seeking Hui that from the moment my husband died, I no longer belong to the everlasting sacred shrine. I can only hold back from going to the everlasting sacred shrine to take revenge." This world no longer has Seeking Chin, only Lu Hechin. The eyebrowless man laughed. Want to leave? As he spoke, the invisible hand once again grabbed Qianghua. Lu Hechin called out in a hoarse voice, "Hurry up, don't let him catch you." Qianghua only had a celestial novice cultivation. As such, she could not block this powerful 5-star palm. The eyebrowless man's invisible palm had just stretched out when she was automatically taken away. How could Ning Cheng let Qianghua fall into the hands of this eyebrowless man? The treasured thunder spear once again shot out with another traceless move. Boom! A terrifying celestial essence explosion erupted in the space around Qianghua, while Ning Cheng once again held her in his arms. Ning Cheng's treasured thunder spear gave out bursts of ka sounds, while he was once again blown away by the explosive force. Poof poof poof. Just as Ning Cheng fell into the trap and kill array, several killing lights stabbed into Ning Cheng's back, causing blood to blossom. Ning Cheng's body had not yet landed on the ground when he raised his hand and threw out dozens of array flags. The killing lights from the killing array immediately weakened the moment Ning Cheng threw out the array flags. Soon, a safe space formed around Ning Cheng. Hey, I really didn't expect that this little ant not only has a powerful celestial essence spiritual consciousness, but also has such powerful array formations. The eyebrowless man exclaimed, while his eyes flickered as he stared at Ning Cheng. Would he continue to struggle in this place, or would he take over Ning Cheng's body? He had never seen such a good corporeal body before. This fellow was not only a body-forging cultivator, but also had a much stronger cultivation compared to the celestial scryer cultivator standing next to him. Although Ning Cheng's spear looked ordinary, Lei Cheng's shadow was truly extraordinary. Qianghua, wait for me to tear apart this trap and kill array. You can go first. This eyebrowless scum only knows how to use these despicable methods. After seeing the eyebrowless man attack again, Ning Cheng realized that even if this eyebrowless man suffered severe injuries and was nailed to the ground, his strength still far exceeded his own. It would be impossible for him to leave this place safely with Qianghua. As such, he could only let Qianghua escape first while he blocked the attack. What about you? Qianghua apparently also knew that she would only be a burden in this place. After asking that question, she saw Ning Cheng's back covered in blood and spoke up in panic, "Are you injured?" Ning Cheng put down Shi Qianghua and took out a few array flags. "I'm fine, you don't have to worry about me. I will tear apart this trap and kill array to let you out. After you get out, you can use these array flags to tear apart the trap and kill array outside the changing earth mountains for a few breaths. These few breaths are more than enough for you to escape." Saying that, Ning Cheng once again sent out a sound transmission. "You have to get out quickly, and then invite that sacred master of yours to come here, only then can you save me. Otherwise, we will both die in this place." While handing over the array flags to Shi Qianghua, Ning Cheng's attention remained on the eyebrowless man. Fortunately, the eyebrowless man was staring at Ning Cheng with a flickering gaze. No one knew what he was thinking, but he unexpectedly did not make a move. "Thank you, Senior Apprentice Brother." Qianghua would like to know Senior Apprentice Brother's name. Apparently, she also knew that if Ning Cheng stayed here, it would only bode ill for him. If she did not come out, then Ning Cheng would be in even more danger. If she came out, then there would still be a chance to save Ning Cheng, but this chance was obviously not big. Ning Cheng smiled and spoke, "My name is Ning Cheng. Remember not to tell anyone, I have offended a lot of people. We were husband and wife in our previous life, so I owe you." Qianghua did not answer Ning Cheng's words. She apparently thought about what Senior Apprentice Sister Yi had said. Although this Senior Apprentice Brother Ning was a good person, but he was too flowery with words. What husband and wife in their previous life, if not for the life-saving grace, she really wanted to turn around and walk away. "May I ask if Senior Apprentice Brother Ning has anything else to say?" Although she felt somewhat unhappy in her heart, Qianghua did not say it out loud. Instead, she asked him a question. If Ning Cheng had any unfinished business, then even if it was difficult, she would help him finish it. Seeing Qianghua frowning after he mentioned that they were husband and wife in their previous life, Ning Cheng secretly sighed in his heart. He stared at Qianghua and spoke with a slightly trembling voice. I have nothing else to say, I just want to see your face again. Qianghua hesitated for a moment before pulling down the veil covering her face. Looking at Ning Cheng with clear eyes, she slowly spoke, I am the sacred lady of the everlasting sacred shrine. A familiar face appeared in front of Ning Cheng's eyes, causing Ning Cheng to suddenly feel a little dazed. He felt a bit of blockage in his throat. How long has it been since he last saw Qianghua? Since the separation from the sifting orchid star, he had never seen Qianghua again. But when he saw Qianghua again, it was as if the blue sea had turned into mulberry fields. Was this Qianghua in front of him still the sure Qianghua he had fallen in love with? Was she still the Qianghua who regarded him as her husband? She didn't even know her own name. What's more, she said that she was the sacred lady of the everlasting sacred shrine. How could Ning Cheng not know the meaning behind her words? Even if he left today, so what? Facing the everlasting sacred shrine, without any way to convince Qianghua, could he take Qianghua away? Separated by yin and yang for a few years, we meet again in a different land. Asking for your surname, I don't know. Parting is like the blue sea, words end without words. Tomorrow is the starry sky path, how many layers is the autumn mountain? Seeing Ning Cheng in a daze, the eyebrowless man threw out a few more array flags, and 3 red lights shot towards Ning Cheng's glabella like shadows. Whether he wanted to possess Ning Cheng or not, now that he was pinned down, he had to seriously injure Ning Cheng. The moment the celestial river domain felt the murderous intent, the hidden everlasting blue thunder city suddenly appeared. Boom! Kacha, Ning Cheng's gradeless blue thunder city instantly shattered, and the celestial river domain turned into nothingness. The treasured thunder spear once again shot out, while Ning Cheng threw out several array flags at the same time. The moment the eyebrowless man forcibly activated the grade 5 celestial river trap and kill array, Ning Cheng tore apart the trap and kill array. Kacha! Ning Cheng's treasured thunder spear directly shattered under a red light. Poof poof. The other 2 red lights broke through the celestial river domain and the everlasting blue thunder city. Even if Ning Cheng forcibly dodged, it still caused 2 more blooms of blood to bloom on Ning Cheng's body. Sure enough, it's weird. The eyebrowless man saw that his red lights could not lock Ning Cheng's meridians and concluded that Ning Cheng's secret was not small. Ning Cheng grabbed Qianghua and threw her out of the trap and kill array while shouting, hurry up and get reinforcements. Also, you have a surname, your name is Shi Qianghua. Chapter 587. By the time Shi Qianghua heard Ning Cheng's last words, Ning Cheng had already thrown her out of the cave. Ning Cheng had already sealed the array formation of the cave with the array flags, and it could no longer generate any suction force. Shi Qianghua had not yet fallen when she saw Jing Yi still panicking. Ah, junior apprentice Sister Qiong, did you escape? Are you injured? Jing Yi, who was still panicking, on seeing Shi Qianghua come out, quickly stepped forward to support Shi Qianghua. When she saw Shi Qianghua covered in blood, she immediately thought that Shi Qianghua was seriously injured. Shi Qianghua did not have time to explain in detail, and anxiously spoke up, Senior Apprentice Sistery, let's hurry out and inform Sacred Master to come over. How do we get out? I have the array flags here, we can get out. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness sent Shi Qianghua and Jing Yi away, before he coldly stared at the eyebrowless man in front of him. Little ant, if not for my serious injuries, and my cultivation not even reaching 1 in a billion, I would have already pinched you to death. The eyebrowless man, on seeing that Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was not sealed by him, felt shocked and angry. Lu Huchen glanced at the eyebrowless man with disdain. Fu Wumei, you are just a heaven-seated cultivator, yet you dare to boast so shamelessly. If you hadn't sneak-attacked me while I was dispersing my cultivation, I, Lu Huchen, would have already turned you into ashes. Even if I had dispersed my cultivation, I could still have nailed you to the soul-locking pillar. With that, Lu Huchen no longer paid any attention to the eyebrowless man, and instead turned her gaze to Ning Cheng and spoke, I believe what you just said. Ning Cheng spoke out in surprise. He did not know what Lu Huchen believed. You just said that you were that female cultivator's husband in her previous life, I believe it. Lu Huchen finished, and turned her gaze to the jade statue at the bedside, with a gentle look on her face. After a while, she looked at Ning Cheng. That old woman Mi Hui, she doesn't know love at all. It is normal for her not to believe your words. A person without love would not be able to see love, nor would she understand love. Ning Cheng was just about to speak when he heard Lu Huchen's voice. I nailed Fu Wumei to the soul-locking pillar, causing his cultivation to drop to almost zero. When I was dispersing my cultivation, he plotted against me, causing my soul to dissipate, and I no longer have the strength to recover. Now that Fu Wumei is about to break free from the soul-locking pillar, I can't hold on any longer and can't kill him. What I can do to help you is to activate the soul-locking pillar in a flash and lock down the last trace of his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. Whether or not you can seize the opportunity is up to you. When Ning Cheng heard these words, he was shocked in his heart. No wonder Fu Wumei's attacks were intermittent. He was stalling for time, and Fu Wumei was also stalling for time. If what Lu Huchen said was true, once Fu Wumei broke free from the soul-locking pillar, how could he still be alive? Do it? At this moment, Lu Huchen's voice resounded in Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. At the same time, the soul-locking pillar shone brightly. Ning Cheng didn't even think about it before using the wishful demon axe. Spirit technique, sunset's twilight. Lu Huchen, I knew you would use this move. After I break free, I, Fu Wumei, will refine you into a bed attendant puppet. I will be yours to raise. Fu Wumei roared, and his handsome face turned hideous. The cyan sword nailed to his chest also shook violently, giving off a buzzing sound. It felt as if the cyan sword would fly away in the next moment, freeing Fu Wumei. When Lu Huchen saw this scene, her pale face turned even paler. If she could blow herself up, she would have blown herself up a long time ago. However, she couldn't blow herself up. The thought of being refined into a bed attendant puppet after her death made Lu Huchen's entire body tremble. Lu Huchen's face turned pale and her entire body trembled. Fu Wumei screamed, and the cyan sword trembled violently. Suddenly, the surrounding space seemed to have come to a standstill. The flowing time felt as if someone had grabbed it with their hand, and it could no longer move for even a moment. The cyan sword stopped trembling, and the soul-locking pillar also stopped radiating brilliance. Even Lu Huchen's trembling body seemed to have come to a standstill at this moment. A faint axe shadow broke the silence of space-time and turned into a faint shadow line that appeared between Fu Wumei's eyebrows in a blink of an eye. Laws of time-related spirit technique. Fu Wumei screamed in horror. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind. How could this be possible? How could this be? How could a puny celestial scryer cultivator display a laws of time-related spirit technique? It was absolutely impossible. However, the axe had already cut through his skin. It was not impossible, but a fact. Fu Wumei's eyes flashed with extreme unwillingness. If he could recover a little bit of his strength, even just a little bit, he would not have cared about this superficial laws of time-related spirit technique. He could have just waved his hand and dissolved it. He was a powerhouse in the heaven-seated realm, killed by a celestial scryer ant. How could he accept this? Even if he had to die, he would drag someone down with him. Violent celestial essence erupted within his body, causing his entire Dantian and Zifu to go berserk. Laws of time-related spirit technique? Lu Huchen also felt shocked as she looked at the axe that had almost touched Fu Wumei's eyebrows. She had seen too many talented cultivators in Grand Culmination Starry Skies, but she had never seen a cultivator in the celestial scryer realm who could comprehend the laws of time-related spirit technique. This wasn't just shocking, it was horrifying. Not good. Fu Wumei wants to blow himself up. Lu Huchen felt the violent aura erupting from Fu Wumei's body and knew that it was too late to warn Ning Cheng. She closed her eyes and felt calm in her heart. She felt grateful towards this celestial scryer cultivator. If not for this celestial scryer cultivator, she would not have been able to rest in peace. Unfortunately, she could not save this celestial scryer cultivator. Not to mention that Fu Wumei would blow up this celestial scryer cultivator. Even if this celestial scryer cultivator managed to escape Fu Wumei's explosion, he would not be able to stop the explosion of the soul-locking pillar. If Fu Wumei blew himself up, it would definitely detonate the soul-locking pillar. The soul-locking pillar, which she had been managing for countless years, had originally been used for cultivation. Every time she tried to disperse her cultivation, she would use the soul-locking pillar to lock her soul. Once the soul-locking pillar exploded, it would tear open a hole in this space. At the same time that the wishful demon axe tore through Fu Wumei's glabella, Fu Wumei's entire body exploded, giving off a horrifying explosion. How much celestial essence would a heaven-seated cultivator explode? What's more, wouldn't the soul-locking pillar explode along with it? The violent explosive aura erupted, mixed with the threat of death. After Ning Cheng cast the Sunset's Twilight Spirit technique, his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness dried up. Moreover, he knew that even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to block such an explosion. The moment Ning Cheng noticed the explosion, he immediately entered the mysterious yellow bead. He did not even have the time to take back the wishful demon axe. The aftermath of the violent celestial essence blast sent Shi Qianghua and Jing Yi, who had just rushed out of the changing earth mountains, flying back again. The powerful impact threw the two people a few miles away before they finally fell to the ground. Jing Yi stood up, and her spiritual consciousness fell onto the changing earth mountains. The verdant changing earth mountains, which looked like a fairyland, at this moment, only had dust covering the sky. Under the dust, there was a huge gully. The explosion had turned the entire changing earth mountains into ruins, which then disappeared without a trace. Shi Qianghua also stood up. She looked at the explosion in the distance and the gully on the changing earth mountains, her face filled with sorrow. Junior apprentice Sister Qiong, Uncle Master deserves this tribulation. Alas, you don't have to feel sad. Jing Yi helped Shi Qianghua wipe the blood from the corners of her mouth and comforted her. Shi Qianghua did not answer. Her Uncle Master had fallen, which naturally made her feel sad. However, the one who made her feel the most sad was that cultivator named Ning Cheng. Before, when she heard Ning Cheng's words, she felt a little unhappy. But now that Ning Cheng had fallen, she felt a kind of sadness in her heart. She felt sure that if the other party had not saved her, he would not have fallen. Was it true? Was she really his wife from his past life? If that wasn't the case, why would he risk his life to save her when he had never met her before? Junior apprentice Sister Qiong. Jing Yi, on seeing Shi Qianghua silent, called out with some worry. She then changed the topic and spoke. By the way, Junior apprentice sister, how did you escape? And the array flags that tore apart the entrapment array, where did you get them? If not for you, the two of us would have died here today. Senior apprentice Sister Yi? Do you think that the person who said that I was surnamed Shi on the culmination public square that day, was his words true? Shi Qianghua turned her head and looked at Jing Yi with incomparably clear eyes. Jing Yi felt surprised by Shi Qianghua's words. But then she quickly reacted and spoke up. Junior apprentice Sister Qianghua, you must not let your imagination run wild. You are the everlasting sacred shrine's sacred lady. Do you know Uncle Master Michin? She's also a sacred lady. She ended up like this because of her. She fell in love with a man, and then with that man she even got pregnant. As Jing Yi spoke till here, she finally sobered up from the huge shock she had just experienced. She then recalled the matter of Ning Cheng chasing after them. She quickly asked, Junior apprentice Sister Qiong, did that cultivator surnamed Ning, who had been pestering you, save you? No, how could that be possible? That fellow seemed to have at most a celestial shatter cultivator, and he did not escape. I guess that fellow was obsessed with lust and secretly followed us. I did not expect that he would end up losing his life. He really deserved it. As Jing Yi spoke, she immediately thought of Ning Cheng grabbing her chest and lifting her up, causing her to feel even more resentful in her heart. She was also a disciple of the everlasting sacred shrine, yet this fellow had grabbed her chest for no reason. If not for this fellow's death, she would have never let this person go. Shi Qianghua then thought of Jing Yi's disgusted attitude towards Ning Cheng. Moreover, Ning Cheng had told her that he had many enemies, and that she should not speak his name out casually. It was the first time she had ever lied. Senior apprentice Sister Yi, it was Uncle Master Mi Chen who saved me. I just came here because he chased after me, so I wanted to ask if what that senior apprentice brother Ning said was true. Jing Yi shook her head firmly. It's absolutely impossible. I have seen a lot of such cultivators. They like to pursue beautiful female cultivators, and then take away the primordial yin of those female cultivators before abandoning them. Don't let your imagination run wild. Just remember to cultivate hard and integrate with the celestial bridge as soon as possible. Senior apprentice sister, do you think that senior apprentice brother Ning, who chased after me, deliberately risked his life to save me after knowing that I was trapped in this place? Shi Qianghua did not seem to understand Jing Yi's words. Chapter 588. Absolutely not. He can't wait to escape. How could he come to save you? Junior apprentice Sister Qiong, don't think too highly of these starry skies cultivators. This kind of cultivator was the most selfish. Those who were truly capable were very self-restrained. How could they take the initiative to approach a strange female cultivator in the public square for no reason? He followed them here because he didn't know that something like this had happened. If he knew about it, then I am 100% sure that he would not come. Jing Yi spoke in a resolute and decisive manner. After saying that, he seemed to feel that it was not enough, so he added, in the starry skies, one's own strength is everything. Tao companions are just companions in the pursuit of the great Tao. Once their paths diverged, they would immediately go their separate ways. Don't believe in those Tao companions who would risk their lives to save you. That won't happen. Shi Qianghua gave out a sigh. Do you think Uncle Master Mi Chen rebelled against the everlasting sacred shrine because her Tao companion died at the hands of the sacred shrine? Jing Yi's face immediately turned red. She suddenly recalled that her Uncle Master Mi Yun and her Tao companions seemed to be different from what she had said. However, she immediately forgot about Shi Qianghua's words and pulled Shi Qianghua with a pleasantly surprised voice. Junior apprentice Sister Qiong, Sacred Master is here. Jing Yi's voice had just fallen when a delicate and pretty Taoist priestess landed beside the two of them. What happened in the changing earth mountains? How could this be? Clearly, this Taoist nun had also seen the ravine that was the changing earth mountain. Holy Master! After Jing Yi bowed and greeted him, she quickly recounted the tragic situation of the changing earth mountains. The Taoist priestess looked at Shi Qianghua and asked, Qianghua, as he said, how did you come out? Shi Qianghua immediately thought of Sacred Master's even worse attitude towards Ning Cheng, and could only continue to lie. After this disciple was sucked into the cave, I found Uncle Master Mi Chen and an eyebrowless man lying on the ground. Uncle Master Mi Chen was the one who sent this disciple out, and she even gave this disciple a few array flags. This was how this disciple and senior apprentice Sister Yi managed to escape the array formation of the changing earth mountains. The Taoist nun slightly frowned and immediately said, Wait for me here with ye. I'll be right back. After the Taoist nun finished speaking, she quickly disappeared into the dust-covered ravine of the changing earth mountains. Qianghua, why are you wearing 2 rings? At this time, Jing Yi completely relaxed, and was able to see that Shi Qianghua was wearing 2 rings on her hands. Ah! Shi Qianghua discovered that she really was wearing 2 rings on her hands, one of which had a very simple restriction on it, as such it was definitely not her own. Who put the ring on my finger? Shi Qianghua's thoughts turned a bit, and immediately thought of Ning Cheng. This must have been given to her by Ning Cheng. Only Ning Cheng had this opportunity. These are the materials I was going to buy in exchange for medicinal pills in the eternal heaven starry sky city. It's just that I was in a hurry and forgot to put it away. After saying that, Shi Qianghua took off the ring and put it into her own ring. Jing Yi had some doubts about Shi Qianghua's words. She suspected that Shi Qianghua's other ring was given to her by Uncle Master Mi Chen. If it was a gift from Uncle Master Mi Chen, then it must be a very good thing. However, since Shi Qianghua did not say anything about it, she also did not ask much about it. She just smiled and spoke, I was injured a moment ago, and would like to heal myself. Shi Qianghua restored her calm, as she nodded and gave an "n" sound, before she hesitated for a moment before speaking. Senior apprentice Sister Yi, about that person following us to the changing earth mountains, can you not tell Sacred Master about it? I'm afraid that Sacred Master would overthink it. Jing Yi brought out an immortal-type artifact and spoke with a smile. Junior apprentice Sister Qiong, even if you don't say it, I will not tell Sacred Master about it. In case Sacred Master feels dissatisfied, it would be difficult for us to come out again. Seeing Senior apprentice Sister Yi enter the immortal-type artifact, Shi Qianghua also brought out an immortal-type artifact. After entering the immortal-type artifact, she first took out another ring. The restrictions on the ring were very simple, and she easily erased it. The first thing that Shi Qianghua saw was a rusty copper coin. When she picked up the copper coin, she found that there was a jade strip underneath the copper coin. As her spiritual consciousness swept into the jade strip, a short text appeared in Shi Qianghua's mind. Qianghua, this copper coin is called the 5 Elements Treasure Fall Copper Coin. Keep it, and maybe later you will understand why I gave you this copper coin. If you can't remember it, then just keep it as your own artifact and don't give it to others. There are also 10 jade boxes which contain time stones. These time stones contain the laws of time, so you must be careful when using them. Because I know a little about array formations, it took me a lot of time to study them. Coupled with the minor 5-element array formation, I managed to suppress the aura of time. If you don't want to use it, don't take it out. Because of the cultivation method I cultivate, it consumes a lot of energy. There are only 10,000 perpetual moon pills left in here, you can use them. Your cultivation is still too low, so try to integrate with the celestial bridge as soon as possible. Finally, you don't have to worry about me, I'm fine. Time stones. Shi Qianghua had never been to the striking order Starry Skies, but it did not mean that she did not know what time stones were. It was a treasure that even eternal-level powerhouses coveted. How could Ning Cheng have so many of these treasures? How could he give her 10 at once? Shi Qianghua did not open the time stones. She knew that once this thing was opened, it would most likely leak out its aura. Putting the things back into the ring, Shi Qianghua held the ring without saying anything. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that the explosions around him had disappeared. He immediately came out of the mysterious yellow bead. He was surrounded by a void. From the looks of it, the previous explosion had torn apart the surrounding space and brought him to the void. This made Ning Cheng very worried. If he were next to Culmination Starland, it would have been better. But if he were not next to Culmination Starland, wouldn't he miss the opportunity to make a fortune in the immortal Jade Star? Ning Cheng took out a Starry Sky positional disc, which he had bought in the Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City. This Starry Sky positional disc could only show the vicinity of Culmination Starland. A small bright spot appeared on the Starry Sky positional disc with the 2 words Culmination above it, which made Ning Cheng overjoyed. As long as he could find the position of Culmination Starland, he would not have to worry about not being able to return. It's just that he had sustained heavy injuries. Fu Wumei's 2 red lights had not yet recovered. Moreover, after getting hit by Fu Wumei's red lights, he had to use Sunset's twilight, which worsened his injuries. Ning Cheng took out a celestial-grade battleship from his ring, connected the Starry Sky positional disc to the battleship, and drove the battleship back to Culmination Starland. Since he could not use his original appearance, Ning Cheng once again put on a mask-type weapon and transformed himself into a young rogue cultivator with a beard. Ning Cheng chose to change his appearance, not because he did not believe in Shi Qianghua, but because he did not believe in Jingyi. The explosion in the changing earth mountains was something that even Ning Cheng did not expect. Even now, Ning Cheng believed that this kind of explosion was not the result of a heaven-seated cultivator's self-detonation. In fact, it was much stronger than a heaven-seated cultivator's self-detonation. Although the area of the explosion was not large, it could still tear through space. How could such a sudden explosion be ordinary? If Jingyi knew that he could survive such an explosion unscathed, she would definitely think that he had some kind of top-grade weapon. Although he did not fear Jingyi, he felt a lot of dread towards the Taoist priestess and sacred master behind her. A celestial-grade battleship flying through the starry skies, compared to a celestial river-grade battleship or a starry sky-grade battleship, it simply looked like a snail. Ning Cheng had no choice but to use this celestial-grade battleship. Apart from his serious injuries, he also did not want to expose his twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Something like the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, the higher the upgrade, the more powerful a weapon it would become. There were too many powerhouses within the starry skies. If someone discovered it, they would most likely try to snatch it from him. Inside Bai Chi Artifact Crafting Store, junior apprentice Sister Yen felt a little worried. Since the last time she went out to sell a lot of middle-grade Dao artifacts, senior apprentice Brother Ning had disappeared and had yet to return. Not only did senior apprentice Brother Ning not return, but the most important thing was that Master Bai Chi had also not returned. Master Bai Chi had said that he would return in at most half a month. But now, a month had already passed. Is Zhongli Bai Chi here? A sudden voice woke up the worried junior apprentice Sister Yen. She immediately stood up and looked at the door in doubt. Although Zhongli Bai Chi called himself Bai Chi, and his store was also called Bai Chi Artifact Crafting Store. However, cultivators who came here to craft artifacts, even if they were powerhouses in the heaven-seated realm, would respectfully address him as Grandmaster Bai Chi or Grandmaster Zhongli. Calling Zhongli Bai Chi like this, and even calling him out in such a loud and clear manner, she had never seen such a thing before. Standing at the door were two cultivators, a man and a woman. The man had a red face and thick lips. The female cultivator had a petite figure, and although her looks were average, she had a curvaceous figure, which made her look even more conspicuous when wrapped in tight clothes. Junior apprentice Sister Yen showed a professional smile and spoke in a clear voice. "Excuse me, two friends, what kind of weapon do you want to craft? My master is not in the store right now, so the two of you just need to leave behind the materials and requirements." "Huh? Do we need Zhongli Bai Chi to craft artifacts? Let me tell you, we are here to issue a challenge." The man laughed and spoke in a rough tone. Junior apprentice Sister Yen still showed a smile. "Then wait for my master to come back. My master is not here right now." "I don't think you understand what's going on, do you? My master is Jinming Qianhua." After the man spoke the words Jinming Qianhua, the professional smile on junior apprentice Sister Yan's face finally disappeared and turned into a look of shock. She knew the four words Jinming Qianhua too well. This person had lost to her master, Zhongli Bai Chi, in an important artifact crafting grand meet and lost his most precious thing. As such, he had to leave Culmination Starland. As for what he lost, her master, Zhongli Bai Chi, had not told her about it. As such, she had no idea about it. She only knew that it was a very precious thing. It was also because of losing this thing that Jinming Qianhua and Zhongli Bai Chi hated each other to the core. Now that Jinming Qianhua's disciple came to their door to issue a challenge, it meant that they did not come with good intentions. Junior apprentice Sister Yen understood the seriousness of the matter and quickly calmed down. A smile once again appeared on her face. "Two friends, I will definitely bring this news to my master." The petite female cultivator suddenly spoke up. "Are you also a disciple of Zhongli Bai Chi? Well, you can represent your master in this competition, and this disciple will be the one taking part in this competition. If you don't want to go, just take down Zhongli Bai Chi's sign, kneel in front of my master's portrait, and immediately leave the eternal heaven starry sky city." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.